I thought today was going to be the last
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Amy, please call the roll.
Here.
Yeah.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here.
Please stand for the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The notice requirements of the open public meeting law for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the notice having been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster and filed in the office of the Township Clerk on July 25th, 2018. Emergency notice. There is an emergency exit through the courtroom doors and 2 exits in the rear of the room. No smoking. Board policy. No new cases will be started after 11 p.m. and no new testimony taken after 11:30. In addition, the applicant will be limited to 45 minutes of testimony. All meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean Community Cable Channel 22 on Verizon Fios Channel 77 on Cablevision. All cell phones must be turned off. If you need to make a call, please make your call outside the meeting room. Cases carried to our March meeting. Jack Franco, Block 8, Lot 11.01, 33 Old Farm Road, Oakhurst. Abraham and Yvette Hittery, Block 22, Lot 101, 10 Portage Path, Deal Park. Orrin Linder, Block 40.03, Lot 3, 608 Deal Road, Ocean. Fahar and Rebecca Salome, Block 22, Lot 44.02, 249 Overbrook Avenue, Oakhurst. Cases carried to April 18th, 2019, 485 South Edgemere Drive, LLC, Block 76, Lot 5, 485 South Edgemere Drive, West Allenhurst, and Morris Dweck, Block 43, Lots 1 and 2, 300 Palmer Avenue, Deal Park. Resolutions and memorializations. The resolutions and memorializations are hanging on the board. Seeing that no one would like me to read every line, can I offer these all together, or is there...
I think we had all the same votes.
Usually do.
Okay, we'll take David Abadi first.
It was continued, that's why.
Block 9, Lot 16, 60 Norwood Avenue, Oakhurst. Use variance approval and bulk variance approval. Someone please offer.
I make a motion.
Second.
Second? I thought you asked for a second.
That's what I asked for.
Hey, I gave you that.
Amy, please call the roll.
Here?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes.
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 Good. Okay, the other two are Daniel J. Sword, Block 46, Lot 10, 107 Parker Avenue, Deal Park, bulk variance approval, and 209 Highwood Road, Block 25.22, Lot 5, 209 Highwood Road, Oakhurst, bulk variance approval. Someone please offer.
I offer.
I need a second.
Second.
Dan Wagner.
I just yell stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
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 Okay. Minutes for approval. September 20th, 2018, regular meeting, October 18.
I don't think we can. These all have to be done separately.
They do?
Yeah,
Different people.
members appearing.
Ooh. Okay.
Somebody's,
Okay, September...
who's eligible for September 20th? That needs to know. We want to know.
Okay, September 20th, 2018, regular meeting. So, someone offer.
I offer.
Second.
Second.
Wait, okay. There's no name.
Okay.
So who offered?
Jim Worrell.
Wait, was he here? Were you here?
Yes.
Okay, who seconded it? Who seconded it?
I did.
Fisher. Call the roll for just that one, okay?
Yes.
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 October 18th, 2018, regular meeting. Someone offer?
I'll
Why don't we
offer.
find out who's
Mr.
eligible?
Malta.
Who's eligible in October? For October meeting? Okay, so we need to, one of those people needs to move it.
Okay.
I did.
All right, I'll second it.
Okay, good.
I moved it. I did.
Malta moved it. Who's second?
Van Wagner second.
Van Wagner second.
Call the roll.
Please call the roll, Amy.
Yes.
Not here.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
December 13th, 2018, regular meeting.
Did you skip November 29th?
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the November 29th, 2018 regular meeting.
Tell us who's eligible.
Who's eligible?
I've been coming a lot.
Who's gonna move that?
Somebody please
I'll
move that.
it.
I'll second.
There we go. Amy, please call the roll.
It's Malta and Morel. First and second, okay?
Yes.
Hey, I was wondering how I got these
Yes.
meetings in and around it.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
December 13th, 2018. Amy, who is eligible for that?
I'll offer. Second.
Morel and Van Wagner.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes.
January 17th, 2019. Please tell me who's eligible. Someone offer?
I'll make a motion.
That's Worrell.
I'll second. Malta.
That's Malta. Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. If you haven't noticed, Amy is new, so we have to give her a little time here. Case number 1, Scott and Cindy Van Bevel, will be heard at our March meeting. That's block 182, lot 46, 19 Fieldstone Lane, Wayside, Zone R3. This is an application to keep a 6-foot vinyl fence and a paver patio with variances for construction in a floodplain. So that'll be on in March. Which brings us to case 2, Russell B. Williams, block 115, lot 1, 1901 Sunset Avenue, Wanamass, Zone R6. This is an application to keep a paver patio and a fence with variances for side yard setback under minimum and fence height over maximum in the front yard. Come on up. Okay, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please state your name and address into the
Russell
microphone.
Williams, 1901 Sunset Avenue.
Okay, Amy, mark the packet, please. Mr. Fitzgerald? Mr. Higgins?
Yeah, my report's dated December 11th. Just for the record, it also includes comments about steps that they had requested that needed variances, and they've withdrawn that request. So they're only requesting the fence in the front yard and the paver patio. Basically, the fence is about 5 feet high. It's set back approximately 3 feet from the front property line. It's been there for quite a while. And I think it was quite attractive. If you move it back to the required setback, you'd lose most of the rear yard because the lot's a very narrow lot. The paver patio, again, I don't have any significant problem with that either. Again, to be conforming, it would have to be reduced in size and moved, and it just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. Both of them seem to fit well on the site and don't detract from the neighborhood. Sorry, the professionals, please move your mics down. Okay.
Good.
I think you meant you, Mark.
Bill, any engineering on this?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have nothing of any substance. I have a report dated December 12th. I did not bother to revise it. I understand the applicant removed the front steps. Other than that, I had no issue. I just want to note, because I just note for the applicant's sake, that this board only approves deviations from the zoning ordinance. So anytime you have specs on your plan and you get an approval, doesn't mean those specs are approved. That's for the building department. I have no engineering concern with the matter.
Mr. Williams, can you tell us, I guess this is existing, correct?
It is. We bought our home 5.5 years ago, and the fence and patio were there when we bought our home. In our process to do our due diligence, we checked to see if there were open permits, and there were not. There was no opportunity for us to know that the previous owner hadn't gotten permits for this.
Interesting. Okay.
You're going to replace them?
Sir?
You're replacing them now?
No, sir.
What brought this about?
May I?
Sure, absolutely.
We were going to increase the size of the steps at the front of our home. And during that process, it was noted that the fence and the patio was non-conforming. Then due to financial reasons, we decided not to go ahead with our steps. And we figured we'd go ahead and get our patio and fence conforming.
So you want to keep all the pre-existing
Yes,
patio
please.
and the fence?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Okay, so you're not doing the steps.
We're not.
To the negative, it's been there and no problems.
Yes, yeah, they've been there for a while. There've been no problems. They look
Yeah.
fine.
They look even better now than they did when we moved in.
Okay.
I'm kind of sorry you had to come here.
Yeah.
There's cake outside, I see.
Anybody from the board have any questions? Anybody from the public here to be heard? Motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
That's Worrell.
Second, Malta.
That's Malta. Please call the roll.
Yes.
They got that permit station. Good. This way. Go to sell the house. They don't have a
Yes.
house. That's smart.
Yes.
Yes.
Any problems with this one?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
However, I know, yeah, because
Okay,
I wanted to make sure whether the notice was okay.
Somebody move this?
I'll move for positive resolution.
That's
I'll
okay.
second.
And they're gonna want to keep it.
Ms. Mandel, second.
This one you may have to send me with how big is your reports on these two.
Amy, please call the roll.
Would you send me those, both of these,
Yeah, I will.
please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Good luck. Please call Amy tomorrow.
Will do. What's your extension, Amy? Oh, no. Never.
Well, you really don't have to do anything tomorrow. What's going to happen is at the March meeting, there'll be a resolution memorializing this.
Okay.
And then they're going to send that to you.
Great.
And then you got to put a little blurb in the paper that it was approved.
I have to do that?
Yeah.
Oh.
But that's much easier than the other part. Just in the paper, and then get it back to the town, and then the appeal period runs for 45 days from that publication in the paper. At the end of that, nobody can appeal your decision, and it's fine.
And then I have to pay for the permit.
I did.
I-
All these years.
That's another department. Okay.
Okay.
But good luck. But this way you got it cleaned up in case you want to sell the building.
Absolutely. Unless you'd like to stay. Riveting testimony. Well, Mr. Good decided that he wants me to do another case or two. So, I'm going to do another case or two. Next case is case number 3, Manuel and Maria Gulmar. Block 31, Lot 60, 2004, Picton Street, Oakhurst, Zone R4. This is an application to construct a one-story addition with a variance for building coverage over maximum. Okay, please come up. The attorney is Paul Ettinger.
Good evening. Paul Edinger appearing on behalf of the applicant.
Ray Carpenter, I'm the engineer planner for the applicant.
Could you please raise your right hand? Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your name and association.
Sure. Ray Carpenter, C-A-R-P-E-N-T-E-R. I am the principal in RC Associates.
Have you testified before this board?
Yeah, about 2 years ago. Actually, probably the planning board, not the zoning board.
Can you give us your
Yes,
credentials?
I'm a graduate from Penn State University. I got my engineer's license in 1976 and my planner's license in 1980, and I've been practicing in the area ever since.
Thank you. Amy, mark the packet, please.
Yeah.
Yes. Reports?
Yeah, I'll be quicker for me to read it than summarize. The applicant is requesting to construct a one-story addition to an existing one-story residence and to construct a 12 by 35 uncovered wood deck at the rear of the building. A variance is necessary for maximum building coverage. 27% of buildable lot area is permitted, and 29.94% exists, and 32.63% is proposed. And just to qualify, the existing that I quote in my report includes a shed on the site that apparently had been constructed without permits. So actually that should be part of this application. So I don't know what portion of that the shed, as far as percentage of lot coverage, that shed actually encompasses. So I think that's something the applicant needs to address. The site's a 16,556 square foot parcel with a depth of approximately 100 feet and a width of approximately 163 feet. It's occupied by an existing single-family residence and shed. I have no significant concerns regarding the requested variance, and that's what I have in my report, but knowing now about the shed, I do have some concerns about the shed, whether there are positive planning reasons for that shed being there. While the site is oversized and the existing building coverage exceeds the ordinance maximum, the proposed addition will be 335 square feet. Addition that will simply square off the rear of the building and will not be readily noticeable from any angle. It should be noted that the zoning table on the plan identifies existing variances for the existing accessory shed. These variances are not necessary since the shed meets the required setbacks for a principal building. It's permitted to be within 10 feet of a principal structure and is also permitted to exceed the maximum 150 square foot area and maximum 15-foot height requirement for an accessory structure that can be set back as little as 5 feet from the side property line. But that still, the shed itself does increase the lot coverage, so that's something that needs to be addressed, the board needs to consider. It should also be noted that the architectural plans do not include the proposed deck, but show 2 landings and steps exiting the sliding glass doors at the rear of the building. It appears that the deck will be conforming, but this should be clarified, and revised plans showing the deck should be provided.
Do we have plans or pictures or?
What?
Do we have plans?
Yeah, there.
Plans were submitted.
We have submitted the plans and the architecturals, it should be part of the
Should be put
submissions.
back.
I didn't get
I
it.
have,
Okay.
No,
Nothing, huh?
but I got it today in town hall. I mean,
Okay.
we did submit those. I have a copy with me, but
Do we have?
of course, I don't know if that's going to do everybody any good.
We may have them in. Let's see if we need, we'll mark them. We can find them.
Let's go.
I don't want them. I mean, I reviewed it.
Yeah,
No, I don't mean
I
that.
didn't see anything either.
I don't need them.
yeah, they were
One sec.
chaos today because of the council.
No, you have
I
a-
listen,
Paul, you have
Kevin
a second
knows
set?
what they mean and
I
then
just
tells
have
me.
the one set here, I'd be happy to.
We're gonna mark this
Sure.
set.
I'll just
Why
tell
don't
you
you,
the truth.
you can take it back, but give it to the other end of the board. Okay. We're gonna mark the plan.
So Amy, you got to mark this at what B2? We marked
No,
it
This would be A1.
A1.
One.
I'm sorry.
Paul, you wanna describe it for the record? He'll describe it for you. A1 will be,
A1 is Mr. Carpenter's plot plan. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know what you're putting in.
A1 is going to be Mr. Carpenter's plot plan.
Yeah, it's fine.
Compared to our engineer.
Yeah, it's even on there.
Do you need a
Or
copy?
needs another copy, I got a copy here.
And then these architecturals are separate? We're gonna mark them each, okay. The A1 will be the plot plan prepared by,
Ray Carpenter, PE.
by Ray Carpenter, DE, 7/24/18, no revisions. And the other one?
Architectural plan, Roy
And it's-
Quackenbush.
A2, we got that around there too?
No,
Do they have that?
they got it in front of me.
You guys have the architecturals?
Yeah, they're looking at it.
No, okay, thank you. It's A2.
Appreciate it.
We're gonna look for,
It's prepared by Roy Quackenbush.
I'll find it.
No, you won't.
Architectural plans
You won't
prepared,
find it, I'm telling you.
prepared by Roy Quackenbush,
Yes.
It
dated
ain't on there.
April 27th, 2018, no revisions.
Revised 5/21/18.
Where? Okay, oh, over here. Revised 5/21/18.
Yep.
Consisting of,
Yeah, you have to scrape the seal with a lead pencil to get the name because it'll put his name on it.
it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 3A. Consisting of 5 pages. Okay. Want the board to look at these two? You need extra copies up there? I'll take them back. Okay, you should have, Amy, when this case is closed, you should have both the site plan and the architecturals marked with A1, A1, A2. You have, okay, we'll get you those back. As soon as the meeting, before we go to the next case, I think we gotta give them all back to her. We'll work it out. Okay.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a report dated this morning. I'll summarize it. I have no real engineering concern regarding the expansion of the residence. I note that the driveway has 4 parking bay garage, an expansive driveway, and then the shed. The shed, as I understand it, requires permitting under the building code because of its square footage. It needs a foundation of sorts. I'll defer to Mr. Kirk because he knows this more than I do, but it does not necessarily have to be a poured footing masonry foundation wall, but it has to be an acceptable footing, and I believe the impetus of it was to prevent wind loads from moving it and possibly hurting or damaging someone else. I recommend, frankly, given the coverage and what's on the site and the size of the house already and further expansion, that the shed be removed.
Okay.
That's it.
Good. Okay.
Mr. Carpenter, you prepared a plot plan in regard to this property?
Yes, I did.
It's located at 2004 Picton Street in Ocean Township.
That's correct.
And can you tell the board what you prepared?
Yes, we, is this mic, live?
Yes, you have to use that mic, please.
There's batteries.
No.
Okay, everybody hear me? Okay. We prepared a plot plan based on a survey prepared by, let's see here. By Mark Sifone, the licensed surveyor. The dimensions of the lot are 168.34 by approximately 100.15. The lot itself is conforming. What we're proposing to do is, if you notice, the house has a little jog in the back. We're going to eliminate that jog in the house for a number of reasons. One, the applicant has a very large family, and if you look at the architectural plans, you'll see that the dining room and the family room and the kitchen are all being expanded by 4.5 feet, which is not a lot, but every little bit helps. The other thing you'll notice is that the powder room on the first floor that services 2 bedrooms does not have a bath or a shower. So the only bathroom in the house that has a shower is the master bath. So it doesn't make any sense to have another bathroom without a shower, because there's no way for those 2 bedrooms to be serviced. So that was incorporated in the addition, and we feel that it's a de minimis addition to the property. It makes the house more usable, and the deck makes the property, gives him a little bit more outdoor living space to accommodate his family.
So, but the deck is not counted in the coverage, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
The coverage is amounts to the deck and the addition.
No, the shed.
Or I'm not sorry, the deck, the shed and the addition.
Yeah, but
The shed is 235 square
the
feet.
deck is open, sliding. So
Right, that's correct. It's an open deck,
and it has no cover.
no cover. So we're asking for relief from the lot coverage requirement for the addition based on the need of the applicant.
In regard to the particular addition, it's a, so you can look at the plot plan, you can see it on the back of the house, and in regard to the part that's actually proposed to be built, it evens off the back, correct?
That's correct. I mean, you have a 4.5 foot jog in the back of the house. We're just going to make it uniform across the back of the house.
And it's
It falls within all the setback requirements, so there's no encroachment into the rear yard or side yard setback.
More than 1,500.
It's intended to be contiguous with the existing building.
That's correct.
This meets the setback.
Now, there was a discussion in regard to the existing frame shed that's to the southern part of the house.
Correct.
And in regard to that shed, you've heard the comments that were made in, pertaining to its size and
Right.
its nonconformity.
The setbacks, it meets the setback requirements. Obviously, the square footage counts towards building coverage, which we are exceeding already. So that's part of the reason why the original site, I guess, exceeded the lot coverage requirement.
In regard to the existing shed, do you know how much additional coverage that adds to the?
It's 235 square feet. I'll do a quick calculation.
And a hell of a driveway, too.
It's approximately 1.5% lot coverage.
And in regard to the other houses that are located on Picton Street and the surrounding area, is this particular property pretty consistent with the buildings that already exist there?
That's correct.
And in regard to the neighborhood as, in a general sense, it's fairly well developed, correct?
Yeah, it's and actually I have an exhibit here. It's an aerial photograph of the neighborhood. You'll see it's virtually developed, fully mature landscaping. The subject property is right here.
Amy,
You wanna mark this?
Please identify it. We have to mark it.
Sure, it's a Google map dated 5/24/18, and I can mark it as A2.
I think A3.
A3.
A3?
You can do it. You can do it. It'll be A3. A1 is the site plan, A2 is the architecturals, and A3 would be the Google map.
As I state, this is the house that we're, the subject house at this portion here. As you can see, it's all mature vegetation around the house. There's actually mature vegetation along the rear of the property to help screen the addition that's being proposed.
In regard to the style of the house itself, can you just indicate to the board what style is it, colonial?
No, it's just a typical ranch. They decided to go out rather than go up, which is an advantage because a lot of the houses in the neighborhood are ranches, so it fits in with the scheme of the neighborhood.
And in regard to the backyard, according to your review, the setbacks are conforming in regard to.
Right, there are no encroachments into any of the setbacks.
And so we're not really affecting any of the setbacks in any areas of the lot, correct?
No, we're not.
And from the perspective of, from a planning perspective, is it your opinion that the plan as proposed by the applicant is in any way detrimental to the zoning code?
No, I don't see any problems with the zoning code. I mean, obviously, we're over on lot coverage, but it's a rather de minimis amount, and it lends more usability to the existing house. And the client wants to stay in the neighborhood rather than move.
And this proposal, as it's presented to the board, in any way, in your opinion, impair detrimental to the neighborhood?
No, in fact, 90% of the neighborhood won't even know that they did it.
Mr. Chairman?
I'm having a real problem with the shed. There's a large existing driveway and a large garage. I don't understand the need of such a large shed. To tell you the truth, you're over on coverage. We would just make it much easier if we take the shed away completely.
And just for clarification
Yes,
to
sir.
Mr. Carpenter, because our ordinance is unusual, when he did the lot coverage calculation for the shed, he used the entire lot area rather than the buildable lot area.
Right,
So when you take 75%
Oh, that's
of
correct.
the entire lot area, yeah, it's actually 1.9%.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You're right.
And to your point, Henry, I think, in all due respect, de minimis, we're talking 5%, almost 6% over the allotted. I know you got a little more pre-existing, but that's almost 22, 23% beyond that, which is allowed. So, one thing we've been a bit uniform here is lot coverage over the years. I know every application is different, but
Right.
I tend to agree with Henry in terms of if the shed is.
Well, that would be up to the applicant whether he wants to withdraw that.
We've discussed the effect the shed has on the application, and Mr. Guamar will be able to testify in regard to that. We understand that really does push the coverage quite a bit.
It really does push the envelope. I mean, if the shed isn't there, this is easy said and done. It's not.
Are you willing to lose the shed at this
No,
point?
yes, we are willing to remove the shed.
Okay. That takes care of that.
Yep.
And just for the record, it brings the lot coverage back down to within 0.5% of what the original lot coverage was.
Now that's de minimis.
Okay. That's perfect. Any other testimony?
No, that's it.
Anybody have questions?
I just didn't have the exterior of the addition is
Well,
going to match the rest of the house.
obviously,
siding
yes.
color and the
Yes.
material and the roof.
Yes.
All match.
Yep.
Good. Any questions from the board? Anyone here from the public to be heard?
Do you want your client to?
My client is here. If you want to hear from Mr. Wilmar, he's pretty much ratified everything we've said. If you want to hear it.
No need to.
I'm okay.
Unless there's
Okay,
more of
good.
you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public meeting.
Anybody from the public?
I asked if there was anybody from the
Do
public.
we want to condition it upon removal of the shed before the building permit is issued, or?
Yes.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Make a motion.
I make a motion.
Second.
Worrell and Van Wagner.
Keep it at the end. of
Amy,
that.
please call the roll.
Yes.
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 I'll offer positive with the condition that the shed has to be removed before the building permits are issued.
Second.
That's Shepherd and Morel. Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Mr. Snow?
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
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 Paul knows, he knows what to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You should have 3 pieces of evidence. You got 3. Okay, you should have the site plan, the architecturals, and this board over here. You can take it off the board if you want to fold it if you want to.
Thank you very much. This brings us to our next case. JACA LLC, Block 25.27, Lot 10, 184 Monmouth Road, Oakhurst Zone O-140. This is an application for preliminary and final site plan approval to construct an addition to an existing building and associated site improvements for use as an optometrist and optician office. Use variance and bulk variance approvals is also required. Ms. Krimko,
Good
nice to
evening.
see you tonight.
Nice to see you. May I say I'm particularly pleased to see Mr. Good here tonight.
So are we.
Welcome back, Mr. Good.
Thank you.
Jennifer Krimko on behalf of the applicant, as you just heard read in, Jan's Optical, who is an optician located next to the Hot Bagel Bakery, which I think we all know. It's an optician and she rents that space to an optometrist, has been there at least since 2004. I know a lot long, 1994, I know a lot longer. 32 years, but that's when I started getting my glasses there. And she's looking to not rent and actually buy a home in Ocean Township, and that would be this particular property. What is existing there today is a doctor's office, and essentially it will be a medical office again with the optometrist, and as a licensed optician, she's a medical professional to produce the glasses. There, as you know, with any optician is a component of retail sales to actually sell the glasses that you are making the lenses for. And unfortunately, even though the optician use is permitted, and even though the optometrist use is permitted, the sale of glasses and accessories is not, because, as rightly so, the town doesn't want to turn Monmouth Road in that section into a retail corridor. Neither do we. We're looking to continue this use with the accessory sales limited only to an optician or a licensed medical professional. So with that, I'm going to turn it over and let Bill and Jim do their reports. And
Amy, please mark the packet first. Mr. Higgins.
Okay, the applicant proposes to expand an existing 1,308 square foot building to 1,864 square feet and to convert the use from a dental office to an optometrist's office, an optician with the accessory retail sales of eyeglasses and eyeglass accessories. The site is a 15,000 square foot lot with 100 feet of frontage on Monmouth Road and a depth of 150 feet. It's occupied by a one-story, 1,300 square foot building and associated parking. It abuts vacant land to the south, residential uses to the west and north, and across Monmouth Road to the east. Site zone I-140 office, and the proposed optometrist is a medical office and a permitted use in the zone. And the optician, well, I say, because it involves retail sales of eyeglasses and eyeglass accessories, is not permitted. If it was just an optician and they didn't sell it on site, it would be permitted. The use variance analysis, the applicant, indicates that the retail sale of eyeglasses and accessories will be an accessory use to the principal medical office. This is frequently the case for optometrist's office, where the opticians and retail sales of eyeglasses and accessories also occur. The applicant should provide testimony regarding the issue so that the board can make an informed decision as to the appropriateness of the variance request, since it is likely that some of the clientele of the retail use will be patients of the optometrist and some will be walk-in retail customers. The applicant should explain the exact nature of the business so that the board can make an informed decision. And just so the board is aware, we did have a TRC with the applicant. We went over this in detail. I'm convinced from what I was told that I think this is primarily a medical use and that the sales is accessory. but I thought that testimony had to be given to you so you could come to that conclusion on your own. Site has a number of pre-existing nonconformities, some of which are not impacted by the application, some of which are changed. Some new variances are also necessary since the applicant is proposing to expand the building. It is appropriate for the board to review all of the existing and proposed non-conforming conditions. And just so the board is aware, the expansion of the building is going to be on the Monmouth Road side of the building, and it'll be away from the residences that are to the rear of the site.
And it makes the building more conforming.
Yeah, I will get to that.
All right. That was my favorite part of your report.
The minimum lot area, 40,000 square feet is required. It says 15,000 square feet. That's an existing condition. Minimum lot width, 200 feet is required. The width's 100 feet. Again, it's an existing condition. Minimum gross floor area, the ordinance requires minimum gross floor area of 3,500 square feet. The existing building has a gross floor area of 1,244 square feet, and the application proposes to increase the gross floor area to 1,800 square feet. This is an improvement to the existing non-conforming condition. It should be noted that a conforming 3,500 square foot building would have a building coverage of 47% of buildable lot area, which would exceed the permitted building coverage of 27%. The proposed building coverage is 24.85%, which conforms. So you have a larger building, which is more conforming, and you still have a conforming lot coverage. Directional signs, the ordinance permits 2 directional signs, which are limited to the wording entrance and exit or enter. It prohibits business names, logos, and similar features. And just to be brief, there are entrance and exit signs. That there's one driveway entering in, there's a driveway exiting. Those 2 signs are there, they're appropriate. There's also a building entrance sign in the rear of the building, because people park in the rear and walk into an entrance from the parking lot in the rear, and it just defines the entrance and names the doctor and the optician. So I don't have a big problem with that. The sign setback, the freestanding sign, the setback existing is 2.5 feet. What was required is 15 feet. We recommended that they move the sign further to the north so it's closer to the entrance drive, and that it be set back 4 feet, and that's what they've proposed to do. Number of facade signs, the ordinance limits the number of facade signs to 1 per street frontage. The plan proposes a facade sign on the front of the building and 2 facade signs in the rear, one to identify the business and the second sign to identify the hours of operation. The purpose of the ordinance is to eliminate sign clutter. I don't see where what they're proposing creates sign clutter, and the signs are subtle. They're not something that jumps out. They're not going to be illuminated or anything, so they're not going to disturb the residences to the rear of the site. Curb landscaped islands, the ordinance requires that all parking areas be separated from driveways by curbed landscape islands, and the curbed islands be provided at the end of all rows of parking. They're required to be 10 feet wide. They don't have any curbing on the site, and I defer to Bill on that issue. I think it's a drainage issue really for him to comment on. And I don't see any way they could strictly comply with the ordinance without losing parking spaces. The parking space size, the ordinance requires parking spaces to be 10 feet wide. The proposed parking at the rear of the site are 9 feet wide. It would be possible to provide the required number of spaces, but to do that, you actually reduce the amount of landscaping in the rear of the site. So I think the 9-foot spaces are a better alternative. Parking aisle width, the ordinance requires aisles for 90-degree parking to be 24 feet wide and 60-degree to be 16 feet wide. The parking spaces are 75-degree parking. The ordinance doesn't have a standard for that. They're proposing 22 feet, a 22-foot aisle width, which I think is more than adequate for 75-degree parking. And if they were to increase the width of the aisle, it would be increasing into the buffer at the rear of the site, which I think would be detrimental. Minimum landscaped area along the side and rear property lines. The ordinance requires a minimum 10 foot along the sidelines and 25 feet along the rear property line. The existing landscaping along the rear property line is 9 feet. That's an existing condition that's been there for a while. And the southern property line is 5 feet, and the northern property line is 4 feet wide. The rear of the property has a screen of arborvitaes there. Some of them are in poor condition, some of them were recently replanted, and the plans indicate that they're going to replace the ones that are in poor condition. I would say that any resolution of approval should have a condition that that buffer be restored to the satisfaction of the board planner. A buffer is required for this zone. A 50-foot buffer is required adjacent to residences. If you did that, the site would basically be undevelopable because it's such a small site. That was really intended for much larger, much more intensive commercial uses. This is going to be a low intensity use. So I don't see where that's a problem. Design waivers, underground sprinkler system, none's provided. I think one should be provided. They're providing new landscaping, and the experience has been when you don't have a sprinkler system, the landscaping doesn't survive well. Tree location and preservation plan. They're proposing to remove one 6-inch caliper tree, and I think that tree should be replaced. I think there's a place in the front, the southeastern corner of the site that tree could be planted. And that would also eliminate the need for a design waiver for the number of street trees. You could provide the required number of street trees if a tree were planted there. The Environmental Commission has recommended that there's a mature stand of shrubs, including rhododendrons, that are on the plan. It's indicated they're either going to be removed or replanted, and there's also some shrubs in the front of the building that are going to be removed or replanted. The Environmental Commission has requested strongly that they be replanted on the site. They feel that there are places on the site that they can be replanted. I agree with that. There's no details provided for the proposed fences on the site. The details should be provided. There's a solid vinyl fence, and then there's a chain link fence with black mesh. And the Environmental Commission also commented about the condition of a tree in the front yard. And I looked at the site and looked at the plan. That tree's not shown on the plan, and it appears that tree is actually on the adjacent property to the north. So it's not really part of this application.
And before we go on to Bill, I just want to remind you, Jim, I know you spoke to Dave Besh
Yes, okay, that's
before
right.
the hearing.
Yes,
As you know,
yes.
and you heard a bit of it from your last hearing, and Dave will testify to, but I just want you to be aware of it as we're going through it. Normally, your building coverage is the gross square footage less 25%. But what also is included in there is it requires you to also deduct buffers and wetlands and the like.
Yeah.
And if you apply that to this and deduct the 50-foot buffer, you basically have an unbuildable lot.
Yeah,
So the building coverage, when you deduct buffers, is actually exceeds as it exists today as an undersized building, and it will exceed. So the numbers that you have are with the buffers in the calculation.
that's correct.
Okay.
That's
I just want to put it on the
And
record.
I don't have a problem with that. It's a hardship with this site because it's so small and you can't expand it. And
So
that's,
by bringing it more into conformity with the gross floor area of the building, we're bringing it less the other way, but I just wanted to point that out because
yeah.
Okay. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Mr. Chairman, I have a report dated February 19th. I'll summarize it. This site has been developed and utilized for a medical or dental use, at least for a number of years. It's not a new development. Having said that, I'll get right to. I have no real issue with what the applicant is proposing, because as Jim mentioned, we had a technical review meeting and they're doing everything we ask. And other than a small building addition to modernize the building and set it up for the practice that they're proposing, they're adding just enough pavement to bring aisles or parking stall widths, etc., into conformance, none other. And they are willing to mitigate the added impervious cover, which is really a benefit, okay? Because the way we do it for small sites like this, it has a big impact on the small storms that drive us crazy several times a year. With regard to that, as far as the curbing, put in curbing would be a fairly large construction project in a quiet residential neighborhood. It just didn't seem to make sense. The pavement on the site is in pretty good shape, as old as it is. So what we recommended, and we hope the applicant does, is to go with the Township's maintenance specifications, which preserves the life of it. It means you don't have to pave it maybe for a long time if you take care of it, because it's in good shape. With regard to new pavement that would be constructed without curbing, we are requiring that they supplement or support the edge of the pavement by having the subbase 8 inches outside of the pavement surface edge, 6 inches, and the pavement base 3 inches outside of it. That way, if a car rides along the edge of the pavement, it's not breaking it off and you don't get that terrible crack that you see all the time. The only concern that I had was that one proposed light pole cast a little bit of illumination on an adjacent residence, and so I don't know that a technical variance is unavoidable, but I would think that a combination of maybe re-aiming, a mechanical shield, and a well-placed evergreen could deal with it pretty well.
Okay.
Hi, everybody again. Jennifer Krimko. Before I bring Dave up, I'd just like to move our plans into evidence. A1 is the site layout plan prepared by Nelson Engineering Associates, revised through 2/5/19, consisting of 2 sheets. Have that one, Amy? Okay. Have they been passed out to the board yet or no? All right. Well, you know what? We have it up here, so we'll
I need one right next door. And then it's like the other
should we
thing.
take a minute and pass them out to everybody? Do you have the copies here?
Right next to it.
I
think so.
This is the site plan, right? This is architectural too, isn't it? Architectural?
Yeah, they're here.
I'm having a hard time picturing it too.
That's it. I believe I'm like 100
I know.
I
can look on it.
I don't have another site plan.
I have a site
Done
plan.
with that.
I just need one.
I don't want to try to do this.
Prepared by Robert A. Hazelrig Associates Architects, revised through 1/17/19. And A3, and I'll mark it, is a color rendered copy of sheet 1 of 2. That is just marked as A1, I'll mark it as A3 with today's date. I'd like to introduce Dave Besh. While Dave's getting up and being sworn, we can stipulate that we can comply with the recommendations of both Bill and Jim's reports, and I think that'll shorten Dave's testimony somewhat, but let's have him sworn.
Mr. Best, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please state your name and address.
David Besh, COESCH, 1750 Bloomsbury Avenue.
Thank you.
Jen, so his recommendations were underground sprinkler, tree location,
Mm-hmm.
and street trees. You're gonna comply with all that and remove your request for design waivers?
Yes, as it relates to those matters.
Those 3?
Yep.
Yes, okay, we'll comply, and you're gonna comply with all of Bill's?
Well, we'll let Dave go through it, but I believe that yes, we are. I think
Wasn't there
that
one other thing that Mr. Higgins mentioned about?
Pavement.
No,
He didn't
about
mention pavement, he
pulling
mentioned
the shrub,
relocating the shrubs.
Oh, yeah,
relocating.
yes.
That would be a
You're
condition.
we already put that on the plan
Okay.
that we were doing that, so I'm not sure whether the Environmental Commission added
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But
I think because the plans say if possible.
Well, it is if
Fine.
possible.
They think it's possible.
Okay, well,
Okay.
we're certainly gonna try.
But it's a living,
Correct.
it's a living shrub, so if it dies.
We will make the effort. Thank you. All right, and
Sprinkler system will help.
okay, and as you know, Mr. Besh is. You want to just state your position for the applicant?
We know Mr.
All right.
Mr. Besh is here every month. I think we're okay with his credentials.
Oh, is that right?
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
In the back room.
What?
In the back room.
Thanks, Dave. And Dave, if you can, you heard all the reports go in and the issues that were raised. Just familiarize the board, and maybe you know, because I don't know, the name of the dentist's office that's there today.
William Lau has been there since 1998, I believe.
Yes.
The property was originally developed in 1965, so that's
Yep.
the extent of time that it has been in this condition with regard to lot area and building coverage and impervious
Let's talk
coverage.
about what's existing and what's being proposed.
Okay, as I'm sure you all are aware, there is currently an existing one-story dentist's office located centrally in the site. It's at 184 Monmouth Road, which is just north of the intersection of Monmouth Road and Roosevelt Avenue. The property to the south is wooded and vacant. Properties to the west are single-family residential in the R4 zone. Properties to the north and to the east are in the R4 HO zone. And that's the differentiation that screwed me up in calculating the coverages. I did not include those as residential properties. I included them as commercial properties, but I'll get to that later. There is currently a one-way circulation system for vehicles entering and exiting the site with aisles, ingress aisle on the north edge of the property, the bulk of the parking along the western property edge, some additional parking on the southern side, and the egress driveway at the southern edge of the site. There are a number of 6-foot-high white vinyl fences providing some screening on the western property line and on part of the northern property line, a chain link fence along the southern property line. As Mr. Higgins had mentioned, there is currently an arborvitae screen located along the western property edge, providing additional buffering to the western properties to the west, but that screen will need to be supplemented and enhanced in its current condition. There is a freestanding sign which is noted the colored component in the upper left-hand corner of A3 that is currently located adjacent to the egress driveway, the north side of the egress driveway, only about 2.5 feet off the right-of-way line. As part of the discussions with not only with the township's officials but also with the county officials have requested that that sign be located outside of the site triangle for the egress driveway, and we're more than happy to do so. So we're looking to place it centrally in the frontage of the site and behind the site triangle, bringing the setback to 4 feet.
And also, just so the board's aware, we did apply to the county and we have a conditional approval, and they did grant us 2 waivers. One doesn't really have an impact on the board, but the second was normally they would require a deed of dedication to meet the right-of-way width for the county road. They're allowing us to do it by way of a deed of easement so as to not further reduce the undersized nature of this lot. So all of the square footage will remain in title and it'll just be an easement to the county.
So as both Bill and Jim had mentioned, what we're proposing to do, in addition to a 612 square foot building addition on the northeast corner of the structure, we're looking to refurbish, restripe, and enhance the entire circulation and parking system. One of the main adjustments that we made to the, shall we say, the ergonomics of the site. Currently, the existing entrance to the building is located at the southeast corner of the existing structure. When we're devising the methodology for providing barrier-free access to the building, we had a series of ramps and steps that unfortunately had the patrons and visitors to the site stepping out into a traffic aisle with very limited warning for vehicles that were circulating the site. So it was decided, and this is where I have to give Jennifer the credit, she said, well, why don't you move the entrance to the north side of the proposed addition? That way, as the patrons are walking to the parking area, main parking area, which is in the back, they're visible by cars entering the driveway and much greater visibility in that region of the site than at the southern end of the site, southern end of the property. So we have taken that into account with a barrier-free access off the new entrance on the north side of the building. We have designated the 3 parking spaces, 3 parallel parking spaces along the southern edge as employee parking, so as to limit the pedestrian path from the parking area into the building.
Before you go on, with regard to the signage, in Bill's initial report, he had made suggestions as to where the bottoms of the sign should be, so that would give us room to landscape underneath it. 2-foot clearance on the freestanding sign and 1-foot clearance on the directionals. That was just an oversight. We're happy to do that.
That's correct.
Okay.
With regard to lighting, yes, we're refurbishing the entire, actually I don't think there is a lighting program for the most part, refurbishing the entire lighting program for the property with a series of LED wall packs on the building, a couple of freestanding poles to accentuate the entrance and egress driveway, and a single shoebox pole light located at the western property edge. Having received Bill's comments, I did a quick supplemental review that currently the pole light is designed for a 12-foot pole on top of a 1-foot exposed concrete base for a mounting height of 13 feet. If I reduce the pole height from 12 feet to 10 feet, mounting height then being now 11, with a backside shield on the fixture and the 6-foot high fence that runs along that property line, we're able to cut off spillage onto the adjoining property.
Okay, and with regard to the drainage comments and the landscaping comments,
We will comply.
okay. And I think that covered all your comments, Bill?
Sure did.
I didn't see it. I didn't look at the plans. The lighting is gonna go, it's on timers in 1 hour after closing?
Yeah.
Is that on
Yes.
the plan? I know,
We can certainly put it on the plan.
Yeah,
that we discussed at the tech meeting.
I believe I did put the note, but
Yeah, I don't recall it.
Okay, but we will,
We
right?
But
will
we
add
will.
that note.
If it's not there.
Okay.
Any questions for Mr. Besh from the board? Any questions from the public for Mr. Besh? None up?
Sit or use the mic, you just have to be.
This
Hi,
is
how are you?
questions only for Mr. Besh.
Okay, so what time is
Please-
closed?
Please state your name and
Sorry.
address.
Denise Geary, 187 Monmouth Road. I'm across the street from the property.
I can tell you the applicant will answer that question, not Mr. Besh.
Oh.
I'll put her up to answer the operation.
Oh, okay, yeah, so,
That's the only
so,
question.
yeah, no, I also wanted to know if you're gonna, the retail part of it, I don't have any problem, of course, because it's an eye doctor's office, but I'm worried that going forward, could a lens crafters or somebody come in?
That would be a question for, no.
And I can
Isn't that a different license, Jennifer?
I can answer that. What we're proposing is a use variance specific to a licensed optician. So a licensed optician must be on site, grinding and making those lenses grinding and making those lenses in order to sell those glasses.
And
A le-
there will also have to be an optometrist on the site. There has to be,
Well, not 24/7.
no, but the optician has to be there in concert with the optometrist.
Right. Planning at optometrist's office, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
No, it doesn't have to be there
So,
24/7.
No, correct, yes.
Once a
there-
week, twice
yeah,
a
so-
week, whatever it is.
Yes,
yeah.
there would be. In the event the optometrist left and Jan decided she wanted to expand the optician to the entire building, we'd have to come back to the
That's
board
right.
because we'd be changing the interior, and any change of any kind of approval requires board review.
That's the point I was
So
making.
that's also the difference as well. There will be a doctor's office on site as well.
So Henry, if I can, your answer to her is that it's a different type of license that if it converted to that use or it's not?
No. Well, first
Business
of all,
license
let's
I'm talking
be
about.
practical here for a second. Lens crafter will never go here. Okay, lens crafter goes big, gigantic buildings on visible locations on highways because they're very concerned about the massing. The mass of people that come in. This, as you know, I'm sure you've been in Jan's, at least walk by it. It's a very specialized boutique eyeglass location that is not looking to attract the masses.
Right.
So it's an entirely different thing. If anything changes, either on the site or on the interior, they'd have to come back to the board and you would get noticed again.
So I guess my question is it strictly being changed for retail for an optometrist?
Yes.
Well, no, for an optician.
For an optician?
Correct.
So,
A surf shop couldn't go in here.
and
What couldn't go in here.
so what about we have all those, that empty lot next door.
Nothing can go, nothing, if the board were to grant this approval, they could only use the lot that's being shown and being approved, with the floor plan being shown and approved, with the uses being shown and approved.
Not the lots.
Nothing else can happen.
Nothing else can.
The lot
So I don't have to worry about
No,
it.
we don't own the lot next door.
The lot
Okay.
next door is not owned by them and it's residentially zoned. And if they wanted to change that in any way, they'd have to come to this board.
Can I
Okay.
ask,
And it's
Ma'am, could I ask you-
environmentally constrained anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
is your
nobody's
question whether a grant of the application as presented would be a general retail grant? Is that your concern?
Yes.
Okay. Then
Right, and that's what I'm trying to explain. No, it's
I understand. I
very,
just wanna make
very
sure.
specific.
Okay. Good. That's my only concern.
It's a good concern.
And
yeah.
then the lighting, of course. And if the lighting, if you have, let us know what the time, if it's not going to be on after 10 o'clock at night, it's
I
fine.
can tell you right now that without putting Jan on, they're on timers, and I think you close on the late nights at 8 o'clock.
One night, Tuesday.
Well,
night.
she's
not.
not-
Wait, she's not sworn.
So you gotta wait.
Jen,
Yes, one night a week is
We're
till
up
8
late.
o'clock.
We're up late. Don't worry.
And they're
so,
Okay.
And-
As long as it's not all night, that's
So-
fine.
as a condition of the approval,
Lights will be
the
out by 10
lights
o'clock.
will be on timers, and they're going to be out 1 hour after.
1
closing.
hour after closing.
So on the nights they close at 6 o'clock, they'll be out at 7.
Great. That's
The night They
great.
close at 8, it'll be out at 9.
9.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Thanks.
I assume that there'll be some sort of security lighting on the site, though, right? Yeah, that I was gonna say. I mean, I think that we could certainly turn the taller lights in the back towards you, but I would think that the police department would want some form of security lighting.
Well, if they fix the building,
Right.
they're not facing the house.
They're all.
Gotta use the microphone. Wait.
They're all down lights. They're all down lights.
Denise, they're
So
all down lights anyway.
they're-
There are gonna be none fade. If you heard in the beginning what Bill had suggested, there was one light that was shining off the property. We're gonna make a change, so it's no longer shining off the property or facing. It's gonna have a shield, and it's gonna be blocked by the landscaping and the fence.
Okay. Great.
Good.
Yep. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Bash, are you done?
I think I probably need to put on the specific numbers for coverage for the variance.
You want us to put the specific numbers on the coverage because of the buffer, or do you need it or no?
Don't we have that on
No, it's
that
slightly
report?
different.
Go ahead.
Mr.
All right,
Bash,
go ahead.
before you leave, is there anyone else from the public to be heard
Or ask question
No, no.
of this witness.
for this witness in question? No?
Okay, just to clarify, the buildable lot area and the coverages for building and impervious surface on the site based upon buildable lot area. Just to reiterate, a 50-foot buffer is required along the adjacent to the western property line and the northern property line. That leaves a rectangle of 5,000 square feet. You add the 25% reduction, that brings us to 3,750 square feet of buildable lot area. Based upon that buildable lot area, the proposed building coverage for 1,864 square feet becomes 49.71%, and the impervious surface coverage for 9,288 square feet becomes 248%.
And that's just a function of the buffers and the way the ordinance works.
So we're granting variances for that?
You
Are
have
those
to.
numbers?
You have to,
Okay.
because that's the technical variance.
Okay.
Technically.
But it's technical.
It's because 50-foot buffer
Yeah.
rear and north side. Why not the
Because it's not up against residential to the south
The
side.
south side is.
south side's
140.
vacant land?
It's all 140.
It's also-
It's a different
but
zone.
it's a 147.
Yeah, it's
All right.
off the
So
zone.
you're talking about 50 feet, 50 feet.
Correct.
The lot is non-usable. Okay. And
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Bash?
got those numbers.
I would just ask the board if you'd like me to put in testimony with regard to the architecture. The architect's here and the applicant's here.
Well,
Is
why
the
don't-
bill-
he's here. Put
He's
him on.
here. Let's bring him up.
All right, happy to.
Gotta let him earn his money.
Are your plans on board, Tom?
Yes.
And they're the same plans that we moved in?
Yes, that's
Okay. I'd like to have Tom Lavin moved in. No, I wouldn't want to have him moved in. I'd like to have him sworn in. I'm gonna move him in, and that way Amy gets to keep him.
Mr. Lavin, please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Thomas Lavin, Robert Hazelrig Architects, 3430 Sunset Ave, Suite 1, Ocean.
You've been here many times, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So Tom, just briefly, let's just talk about the changes that you're proposing to the exterior of the building by way of improvement, and then let's quickly go through the layout on the interior. Or you can do it in the other way. It's up to you.
Okay. The existing office is set up. There's 3 exam rooms, a lab, office, and a reception area, and then a waiting display area. Jan's Opticals has her current space up on Monmouth Road has a small waiting display area, so she needed more room to display her eyeglasses and stuff. So we're doing an addition out the front that will give her the space that she has for the existing cases and stuff that she uses. The eye doctor, when we looked at the 3 exam rooms, the two exam rooms are the same size as the third one is much smaller. The eye doctor was fine with the size of the 1 exam room for the equipment that she uses, but she needed a larger exam room. So we combined the 2 front exam rooms to give her the size that she needed, and that the remaining space we're proposing to put in an ADA compliant toilet for the public use.
And Tom, and you forgot to mention that the actual optician lab is there where the glasses are going to be.
Right, the lab exists, and that'll remain the way it is. The office will remain as used, and the reception area will remain as used. So that just the waiting display area will get bigger to give her enough space for the
And just
casework
point
that
to
she
the board
has.
where I know it was pointed on when
Dates.
Dave was up, where patrons are going to come in.
They'll come in through this northwest entrance, and it goes directly to the back parking lot.
And that's the reason for the additional sign to direct them there, as well as the sign above to direct them. And let's just take a look at the improvements to the building itself.
Okay. So up top here is the existing structure. It's a brick 1-story. The top part of the building is a wood shingle that hasn't been maintained in years. So what Jan would like to do is resurface the front addition in a nice white stone, and then whitewash the brick where it remains on the back and sides, and then redo the top part with a white stucco, and then we'll do AZEC trim around.
Who trim?
AZEC, it's a white.
It's a composite that
Composite.
looks and acts like wood. You can
Like
paint
wood.
it, but it lasts longer.
Less
Okay.
long.
Any questions?
Anyone
I have
from the board
a
have
sample of the stone if you want.
You do
Any-
have a sample
Less is
of
more.
this? Then Amy has to keep it.
No, then the Amy keeps it. I'll show it to you afterwards.
Anyone from the board have questions? Anyone from the public have questions? Okay.
Does the board have any questions for Jan other than what we stipulated to with the hours of operation? If so, I can certainly have her sworn in.
Said 6 o'clock, one night 8 o'clock.
She said only one evening.
Why don't I introduce Jan to everybody?
You get a personal face.
Good evening.
Good evening. Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Janet Abruzese, 67 Monmouth Road, Oakhurst, New Jersey.
Have a seat, Jan. Jan, you heard everything that was just put on the record, and you are familiar with the reports, and we discussed them in advance, and you're comfortable with everything we stipulated to.
Yes.
Okay. What are your hours of operation?
9:30 to 5:30, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. 9:30 till 8 p.m. on Tuesday, and 9:30 till 1 on Saturday. I do honestly intend to
What time?
Open.
Okay,
Say
9:30 to 5:30 Monday.
Wednesday.
right now, where I am right now, Monday, Wednesday.
Let's talk about what you
Friday.
intend to do, so Mark doesn't have to write it twice.
Okay.
Yeah,
9:30 to 5:30. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
that's fine. Okay.
9:30 till 8 p.m. on Tuesday.
Okay. Saturday was what?
9:30 till 1.
Sunday closed.
Sunday closed.
Okay.
Were there any other questions for Jan?
Anybody have a question? Anyone from the board have, anyone from the public have any questions for Jen?
I have a question, Mr. Shepherd. The stone in the front, Ms. Edwards says, did you decide on that or the architect?
I did.
That's your concept?
Yes, why?
Okay, I'm just wondering.
Do you have a better idea?
Yeah,
I'm willing to listen.
Sure. I see this small stone all over the place. You see it on new builds because it's relatively cheap.
Okay.
And the whole building's brick. I think a continuation of. I think the whitewashing the brick is nice, but continuing the brick would be a stronger form. Adding another material is kind of.
You know what? I wanted something on a light color because the property is so small.
So it's
And
gonna pop.
there's a lot of trees.
You're gonna mark that in?
No.
I don't want to, so no, I'm
No.
not
Okay.
really
No.
showing it to
She
them.
didn't-
It's supposed to be here.
Really tall, mature trees on all three property lines.
There is.
So the white
So there's a lot of shade, and it seems very closed in.
I understand.
I wanted to brighten it up a little bit.
I just think that the 3 different materials is a little wishy-washy.
It's not
It's not-
set.
this
It's
isn't-
not set in stone.
Well, it is, because you have to build what we're doing, and we respect your opinion on it.
It's not
And
the form, I know.
no,
but
no,
it's
and no, it is the form. I mean, the reality is that if the town had architectural standards, it would be one thing. You know, this is the preference of the applicant. This is what we're submitting.
And the truth of the matter is, you can see it on the plans. From the street, you're only going to see one facade.
Right.
And on the
It is very wooded.
south side,
I'm familiar.
and on the south side of the building, the only time you're going to see the other part of it is if you are physically driving in and parking and looking at the back of the building. But then you can't see the front.
Got you.
So you're only going to see one surface.
Okay. Any other questions for Jan? Mr. Snow, are you satisfied?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Anyone here from the audience to be heard? Questions for Jan? No? Okay. We're good. Does that conclude your
That
case?
concludes my case, and I think that the testimony stands on its own. I don't even think we need to do a closing statement.
Okay.
Okay.
We
Okay.
move to close public hearing.
I'll move to close second.
Malta, Laurel. Amy, please call the roll. Mark, you have to tell me exactly.
Yeah, right.
what we're doing.
Jen will be listening.
Okay.
The first vote will be actually the use variance, the D, to permit the retail sales portion of the operation.
Okay.
That's the first thing, because it's not permitted in the zone.
Let's say-
Obviously, retail sales are going to be limited to that which an optician does, and the sale of glasses and glasses and accessories, and it's going to be contingent upon an optician, licensed optician, running the property and having on staff basically an
It would be
the other thing,
right, an optometrist. There would be an optometrist
with an
office.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, and that would be the condition. That's the reason it is really medical in nature. Actually, I would assume that, and it wasn't stated, that most of the glasses, the majority of the glasses, are done by prescription, which is also a medical situation given by either that optician or optometrist or
An outside optometrist.
an optometrist or a
Ophthalmologist.
one of those guys, an ophthalmologist. So it's all medically related and can be conditioned upon that. So we can't have a surf shop, as you indicated later on, selling surfboards or something else in that location. We can do it. It's reasonable. It's based upon our planner is satisfied with it, and it's a limited variance for use because the balance of the use is certainly medical in nature. So that would be the first vote.
So I'm going to offer that.
Okay.
Did we have a vote to close the
I did.
public hearing?
Yeah, you
I moved and seconded.
Oh,
You
I
yeah.
didn't call the roll?
Vote on no,
Oh, you didn't call the roll?
no,
Why didn't you call the roll?
Because Mark.
because you jumped in
on a roll.
and
Call the roll.
Because Henry said, "What are we voting on?" So I started to
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
My fault. My fault.
Amy, you can interrupt them. It's okay.
All right.
Amy, please call the roll.
Times I can interrupt
Let's
them.
call a roll.
This is for the vote to close the public hearing.
Yes.
right.
Yes.
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 Mark, you don't want to repeat that again,
No.
do you? Okay. So
Can we have the reporter read it back? No.
I'm going to move
For the D variance.
Subject
the
to
D
everything.
variance subject to everything that Mark said.
Okay.
I need a second.
Second.
That was Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So the next thing is 3 votes. Yeah. The next thing is all the bulk variance. We have minimum lot area, minimum lot width existing, minimum gross floor area better than existing, directional signs, sign setback, number of facade signs, lack of curb landscaped islands, parking space size, parking space width, minimum landscaping, minimum buffer, a minimum buffer. That was it.
Building
And
coverage.
building coverage.
Okay.
And building and lot coverage, because lot
Building.
coverage is 200%.
And lot coverage. Okay. All as indicated in Jim's report, and of course you've heard that the building, the lot coverage is excessive because technically you need a 50-foot buffer in the back and 50-foot buffer along the north side, limiting the ability to use most of the property. Thus, the percentages go higher at 75% of that area. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the reason.
I'll offer.
Okay.
Second.
That's Van Wagner and Worrell. Amy, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then the next one would be the site plan approval, basically. No design waivers. A compliance with the additional comments of Jim, if possible.
Right.
Okay, as they indicate on the plan. They're going to provide a detail of the fences.
I thought we did.
It says details should be provided for satisfaction of board engineer.
There wasn't one, so we need it.
And what are we doing? We're not worried about the tree because it's not on our lot. And I have the other conditions being, of course, compliance with all Bill's requirements, as you indicate you can do. Subject to Monmouth County Planning Board approval. Lights off 1 hour after closing. And I have a lighting to be changed to reduce the height of the pole in the back.
Right, the
To
one that
comply
was
with lighting. Okay.
correct.
There's only one pole on the property.
Right.
Okay. Those are the conditions of the site plan.
Including Mr. Besh's numbers that he gave you?
Mr. Besh's numbers are in. You voted on them already.
We did.
It's a bulk
Just did
variance.
it.
That's the bulk?
Yeah, we just.
That's one of the bulks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
All right.
Okay, need someone to offer that?
Make an offer. I'll second.
Amy, pick some names. That would be Mr. Snow and Mr. Manel. Please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Ms. Krimko, you know what to do after this.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
Amy, do you have the exhibits? You want to take 2 minutes to let her get the exhibits? And
Sure.
Yeah, let me.
I like these things.
You're going to take 2 minutes anyhow? Good luck.
Here we go.
We should always. Do they pay for TRCs?
I never used that before. This brings us to case number 562 Monmouth Road LLC, block 26.04, lots 3 and 41. 62 Monmouth Road and 360 West Park Avenue, Oakhurst, Zone C-1 and R-3. You're staying, aren't you? Oh, okay. This is an application for preliminary and final site plan approval to construct a parking lot and related improvements on lot 41 to be used in conjunction with the existing business on lot 3. Use variance approval and bulk variance approval is also required. Ms. Krimko, you're here again.
Good evening, I am here again, and for the applicant, and this is her property, actually right across the street from Jan's Optical. So those of you who may be familiar with that corridor of Monmouth, it's where the high maintenance salon is. That's the current use on lot 3. And as you may know, there's very little parking in the back. So when the lot 41 came for sale, it was a great opportunity for that landowner to look to purchase it to provide additional parking for the use for the salon. So while the salon use will remain all entirely on lot 3, as was the case, I think it was Dean's Natural Food Market, we were here for similar, where we had a parking lot on a residentially zoned property. It's technically a use variance, even though the salon use isn't there, the parking supporting it will be, so we technically need a use variance. Here tonight I have Chet Sermont. I have a professional planner as well to speak about the use, and I have the landowners and prospective landowner and operator of the high maintenance salon. So let's move a few things into evidence. A1 is the preliminary final site plan by Charles Sermont, revised through 1/23/19.
Amy, do you have this?
It's already been handed out.
Yep.
Can I get one? I didn't get it.
Here, I'm working on with Kevin.
Okay, and we just have just the site plan. Thanks. Thank you. So there's no
A2.
architectural specific working about it. What?
A2 is a color rendered of sheet 6 of 11 of the plan set that I just moved in. With that, I would like to bring up Chet Sermont, have him sworn.
Mr. Fitzgerald, would you like to read your
Oh,
report?
I forgot.
Word, Mr. Chairman, I have a report dated February 20th.
Wait. Did you mark the packet in as B1? Okay.
Yes, we did.
She's way ahead of you.
Okay.
We got that.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I have a report dated February 20th. I'll read and summarize as appropriate because there are explanations and then there are technical comments that if they agree to, it's not worth putting on official record or wasting time.
Okay.
Comment number 1 is an application to construct parking lot improvements upon Lot 3, Block 26.04 within the R3 residential zone to support, and also upon to support an existing commercial use upon adjacent, I got that backwards, Lot 41, Block 2604, which lots within the C1 commercial zone. Lots will be consolidated, so while Jennifer mentioned to you that a D variance is being sought to construct the improvements associated with the commercial use in the R3 zone, the lots will be consolidated into one tax lot if approved by the board. A number of variances or waivers are required, including the D variance for commercial use of a property within the R3 residential land use zone, a variance for change of grade of elevation of 2 feet or more, variance for parking stall widths of 9 feet where stall widths of 10 feet are required, a variance for parking stalls which back into an egress or ingress aisle drive to be located within 20 feet of a street line where a setback of 25 feet is required. A variance is required for parking row end island widths of required 10 feet, proposed something less than that. Variance for parking field within the C1 zone to be located within 5 feet of the side property line where a minimum setback of 10 feet is required. Variance for parking field within the C1 zone to be relocated within 20 feet of a front property line where a minimum setback of 25 feet is required. That's what's on the plan now. Item 2, the neighborhood is fully developed, has been for many years. The existing commercial building upon Lot 3 has frontage upon Monmouth Road, which is Monmouth County Route 15, and is serviced via an 11-foot wide paved driveway and 4 or 5 parking stalls within the rear yard. The driveway is completely inadequate for two-way use. Traffic along Monmouth Road is very heavy during peak hours, often queuing for several hundred feet on both sides of the West Park Avenue signal. The existing residential lot has frontage along West Park Avenue, also under county jurisdiction, contains an older home which has been allowed to deteriorate badly. This lot and adjacent commercial Lot 3 share a common boundary of approximately 56 feet in length. The lot contains a number of trees which appear to be in very bad health and are in danger of falling and or damaging improvements upon the existing residential lot, that's Lot 40 to the west. Item 3 will skip its technical stuff. Item 4 will skip its technical stuff. Item 5, applicant's proposal is to make its driveway from Monmouth Road a one-way ingress-only driveway, construct an L-shaped parking field across the 2 lots, and provide appurtenant improvements including drainage, stormwater management facilities, light sighting, landscaping, traffic control, signage, and striping. 6, from an engineering perspective, the proposed layout and circulation plan is generally acceptable. Commercial properties within this C1 commercial district generally suffer from inadequate parking and substandard driveways. Applicant's proposal satisfactorily addresses both deficiencies for this commercial site. Additionally, it eliminates exiting movements from the site into Monmouth Road traffic stream, which is often queued from West Park Avenue signal southerly beyond the driveway of the site. I'll also point out for board members, I don't have a display to show you, but between West Park Avenue and Park Avenue, on the west side of Monmouth Road, where high maintenance is and a number of other, there are 10 driveways, every one of which is substandard in some respect. only one of which actually can function, and that's Brennan's. The rest are all way too narrow to be two-way driveways. So the town has been actively looking to try to ameliorate these substandard driveways, the number of driveways intersecting Monmouth Road, and the parking shortage in this commercial neighborhood, which needs to be viable. With regard to variances requested, I offer the following. D-use variance, Jim will talk to you more about that, but the board must weigh the benefits of improved neighborhood traffic patterns and parking against potential impacts to the municipal zone plan. Comments of the board's planner, the applicant's planner, and neighborhood property owner should be considered. Change of grade of elevation of 2 feet or more. I have no engineering concern with the board granting this variance, inasmuch as it obtains directly from the drainage and stormwater management plan for the site. There's additional comments below. The design of that system exceeds all applicable state and municipal standards. Parking stall widths are 9 feet. I have no engineering concern with this request, since patrons of the site will not be carrying large packages and are willing shopping carriages to from parked vehicles. The township's required hairpin stall striping generally works well for this type of site. If the use was to change at some time in the future, some or all of parking stall striping could be changed to provide 10-foot stalls. It's only paint. Parking stalls located within 25 feet of the West Park Avenue street line. I can offer no engineering support for that variance. Okay, I recommend that the 19 east-west facing stalls upon lot 41 be shifted 5 feet to the south to eliminate these variances. Small parking island located at the back, which requires a variance for its width, will be barely noticeable due to its location within the interior of the site, but the 25% increase to landscaped area along West Park Avenue is substantive. Parking field located within 5 feet of a side property line. I have little engineering concern with this variance. Properties to the east of the subject property line are both commercial and both have parking fields within 5 feet of the line. Moving the parking field 5 feet to the west to eliminate this variance moves the parking field and associated activity 5 feet away from existing parking lots and 5 feet closer to an existing residence. From an engineering point of view, the variance makes sense to me. Following our offer of fire lanes, we typically want them as approved or required by the fire marshal, period. Site easement will be dedicated. Item 10 is worth reading. As noted above, the commercial area of this neighborhood is burdened by lack of parking and substandard driveways. In view of this, it is strongly recommended that the board request and that applicant grant as any condition, as a condition of any approval, a blanket cross-access easement upon this site dedicated to the township and/or its assigns to be utilized for and only for facilitating future vehicular pedestrian interconnections between this site and other neighborhood sites and/or parking areas, in order to 1, minimize vehicular driveway conflicts with Monmouth Road, 2, minimize or eliminate to the maximum extent practical adversities which are inherent within vehicle circulation upon small dead-ended commercial sites like this one, and 3, provide additional and shared parking and pedestrian paths adjacent to and west of the commercial buildings which front upon Monmouth Road, in order to preserve and protect the commercial viabilities of these properties in this neighborhood. The easement would only go into effect at such time as the number of easements obtained upon contiguous properties would yield benefits to all grantors and the township if implemented. In that regard, there's a note from your packet from Todd Gregory in the police department, who indicated that approval of this plan could impair the ability of the township sought easements to function. That is not the case. Okay, I'm not criticizing. It's a good point to bring up. However, I want you to be aware that the easement is very well crafted. It allows a lot of flexibility, and this particular plan has been reviewed in connection with the intent of implementing those easements if they can be obtained so that it really can work, and this will not impair that. Grading, drainage, and stormwater management. The project will disturb a total land area of about less than half an acre and will add an additional less than quarter acre of impervious coverage to the site. As such, it's not a major development under state or municipal stormwater standards. Site improvements include surface runoff collection system and a subsurface storage infiltration bed. Soil observation and testing conducted in connection with the stormwater system design indicate suitable soil type and high permeabilities which are desirable. The system is designed to mitigate effects of increased surface runoff from the development, and the computations indicate that the system performance will well beyond minimum requirements of applicable state and municipal regulations. We recommended in 12 that if to the maximum extent practicable, roof runoff be collected and put into the system. All aspects of construction soil permeability testing before and after shall strictly comply with state guidelines. Sanitary sewers, they're in the neighborhood and none is proposed to be affected by this. This is simply parking lot construction. Landscaping, site lighting, and signage. The adequacies of existing and proposed landscaping and signage are deferred to the township planner. It is noted that no signage is proposed in connection with the application. Proposal for site lighting which accompanies this application is generally acceptable as provided. A variance may be required for illuminance spillage across the westerly boundary of the site. The ordinance requirement in this regard allows for light spillage of approximately half the illumination provided by a clear sky full moon. It is recommended that light spillage be reduced to no more than a tenth of a measured foot candle at ground level. That's about a full moon illumination. By a combination of light source and or luminaire aiming, pole placement, mechanical shielding, and or well-placed tall landscape plantings. There is a 6-foot fence proposed along the westerly property line, separating this site from adjacent residential use. Item 18 is technical. 19, all fencing along the westerly boundary of the site shall conform with ordinance requirements as to heights and openness. The ordinance, as it specifies fencing or allowable fencing, indicates different heights for a different amount of open space in the face of the fence. Erosion and sediment control, that's technical. Construction details, technical. Miscellaneous 21 is 23, 24 are technical. Notwithstanding, I'm down to the end. Notwithstanding planning and or other concerns of the board, I have no substantive engineering concern with the applicant's proposal. It is my professional opinion that improvements proposed in connection with this project will materially improve parking, traffic, and congestion conditions in this neighborhood. I recommend this matter be approved conditioned upon compliance with the above comments.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins.
Okay, and I will try and summarize. Bill covered a lot of what I had in my report, but I felt he was more involved with the whole generation of this application, so I thought it was better to have him go first. As far as the use variance goes, this is an area that has problems in terms of inadequate parking, inadequate site layout. There's congestion that occurs on Monmouth Road as a result of that at peak hours of business in this area. And while it's a D1 variance, the parking is not permitted on lot 41. The use is permitted on lot 3, which is a smaller of the two tax lots. But I think the applicant has to show not only that the site is particularly suited for the use, which I believe it is, but also that there are substantial benefits to the improvements to the function of the site that bring the entire site more into conformity with the intent and purpose of the zone plan, particularly with regard to site access, on-site traffic flow, the adequacy of parking and aesthetics. As far as negative impact, I think the primary concern with negative impact would be the impact on the residential uses to the west. And I think the way it's proposed, first of all, the ordinance requires a 5-foot buffer between commercial uses and residential uses for C1 zoning, which this is going to be a C1 use. And they do provide that 5 foot for a short distance, and then the balance of that western property line is significantly greater than the 5 feet. So that I don't have a problem with the negative impact. The variances that are necessary, Bill went through a number of them. There are some that I picked up that he wouldn't necessarily be looking for, he wouldn't pick up. One is location on an improved right-of-way. The ordinance requires the front yards must face on a minimum 50-foot wide right-of-way for the required frontage of the lot. A 50-foot right-of-way requires a half-width of 25 feet. The half-width of Monmouth Road opposite Lot 3 is 16.5 feet. So I recommend that the applicant dedicate an additional 8.5 feet in order to bring the half-width of Monmouth Road to the required 25 feet at that location. And if you look at the tax maps, the Monmouth Road goes up to the subject site, and then the subject site juts out into the right-of-way of Monmouth Road, and then it comes back down again. So it's basically, this is an anomaly on that whole length of Monmouth Road.
I mean, certainly, and obviously the county has to be the one to approve that, but I would
Exactly.
ask that we do that by way of an easement, not dedication.
Either way is fine with me.
Correct. just because the
But
lot
you're
is
not
so
you're
small.
not hung up on the width if the county has a different width and easement width in mind.
The building is.
Jim?
I'm
Right.
not hung
No,
up
all right,
on the width
you'll go
at
with
all,
it,
no.
okay.
Whatever the
No,
county wants.
Yeah.
No, I was just going by the master plan, which says 50 feet. The number and location of curb cuts is another variance. Again, there's only permitted one curb cut per site. There are two curb cuts, one on Monmouth Road, one on West Park Avenue. That makes absolute sense for the circulation on the site and what exists now, as Bill has discussed before. There's no loading area provided. I think we need some testimony as to why they're not providing a loading area. Again, the nature of the use, I don't have a problem with it, but we just need some testimony on that.
You don't have that highlighted?
What?
No loading
Yeah,
area?
it's there.
What
It's-
exactly do you mean by loading area?
The ordinance requires a 15-foot by 40-foot loading area, and there's none provided. It's a commercial use where the building is less than 25,000
They're
square
gonna,
feet.
they're gonna tell you that everything's delivered by
Yeah,
UPS
yeah,
or
so
something.
they're
Yeah.
gonna which is
Okay.
typical for these use. We just need
Okay.
that on the record.
Jim, Jim, do we know what the intended use is?
Yeah, it's the high maintenance hair salon.
Parking for it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
That's what it currently is, but I mean, it's
Got the intended use, or
it's continued. Yeah, the high maintenance hair salon owners own the property and are the contract purchasers for the property for which we're proposing the parking lot.
okay?
Okay. I think Bill you discussed the 10-foot landscaped area in the side yard?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you discussed that. Landscaping along a public street, the ordinance requires that all landscaping within 10 feet of a front property line and 15 feet of the curb line, whichever is more restrictive, be grass only. Some plantings are provided within the 10-foot of the front property line. And again, this is exempted in the C1 zone, but technically lot 41, which fronts on West Park Avenue, is not in the C1 zone. So I think it's a technical variance would have to be granted there. I don't have a problem with that. The landscape plan, the ordinance requires the landscape plans to be prepared by a licensed landscape architect. The plans are prepared by an engineer. I have some suggestions, I think, but generally I think it could be conditioned upon Chet and I working together to work that out. Prohibited fences.
Get 'em on the phone.
Yeah, prohibited fences in a front yard. The ordinance limits the height of a solid fence in a required front yard to 3 feet. Because you have the R3 zone, the site's in the R3 zone, so the fence would have to be, it couldn't be a 4-foot solid fence for a distance of 30 feet, I think, from the front property line. But again, it's a C1 use. In the C1 zone, the front setback is 5 feet. So what they're proposing is a 6-foot fence, dropping it down at 20 feet to 4 feet, bringing it out to the front property line. My suggestion is they just bring the 6-foot fence to 5 feet from the front property line. And as long as it doesn't involve a site distance issue.
Well, that's what concerns me. The
Yeah,
site
yeah, that's the only thing that concerns me there.
And I think the fence ought to conform
You want the 6
forward
foot?
of the building setback line, even the R3 setback line.
Okay, then it should drop down to either a 4-foot
So
Open.
open fence or a 3-foot solid fence.
at what point?
At the building, at the R3 building setback line, just so that it doesn't make it seem like you're boxing.
And then there is the design waiver for a tree location and preservation plan. They provided locations of trees and which trees are going to be removed. I saw that there are a total of 43 qualifying trees to be removed. The plan provides 15 replacement trees at 2.5-inch caliper, which means that's equivalent to 7.5 4-inch trees. So that the required donation would be 12,425 feet.
Dollars.
Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself thinking of other things here. There's some mitigating circumstances here. One is that they have a neighbor who has requested that they take down a bunch of trees along the western property line because it impacts his property. And I looked at it, I agree with that. But what I don't agree with, I think there are other trees on the site that can be saved. There are some nice holly trees on lot 41 in an area that's not to be readily disturbed. There's be some minor grading in that area that I think they can be saved. I think any condition of approval should be that I work again with Chet to go out and look at the site and see what trees can be saved, which ones couldn't be saved, and then work out whatever their donation would be. And if the board, I don't know if the board wants to grant any waiver of the required donation to the Shade Tree Commission or not.
How would they know how much to grant if they don't know what's left?
Yeah.
We don't. We would really have to know what's left.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that it, Mr. Higgins?
Yep, that's it.
Who's up?
Chet, if I could have Chet Sermont sworn?
Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Charles Sermont, 301 Main Street, Allenhurst.
Testified here before, right?
I have.
That's good.
Chet, using that microphone and referencing A2 in evidence, let's tell the board what's existing and what we're proposing by way of improvements.
Pretty much what's existing is everything on
Chet, check that mic. I don't think it's on.
How's that?
Better.
Lot 3 is developed in its entirety all the way up to a masonry wall almost at the rear property line. Is this lot 41? Do I have my numbers right? Lot 41 has a single family dwelling about where I'm indicating, and then the rear of the property is undeveloped. So what we're looking to do is breach that wall, link this driveway to this parking lot here. Again, as Bill indicated, entrance only off of Monmouth Road, entrance and exit off of West Park Avenue.
Okay. How many parking spots are we proposing?
39.
I think it's 30.
39.
I believe you, I'm just checking. 35 on the new lot, 4 on the old lot, 39, thank you.
And you heard the question with regard to no loading zone. Is it your understanding that the use doesn't require a loading zone of that size, that any loading can be done in one of the parking spaces?
Yeah, my understanding is that the deliveries take place at the rear of the building, typically by UPS truck, and they would just come in here, park briefly in the rear, make their delivery, and exit out to West Park Avenue.
Okay, and with regard to Jim and Bill's reports, we can comply with all of those suggestions?
We can. They differed on the 20-foot setback from West Park Avenue. As Bill indicated, there is room in these two islands to shift that back 5 feet if the board preferred. That's not a problem. Again, the 5-foot clearance to the property to the west only occurs in this 25-foot area here. Thereafter, it's either 10 feet or as much as 30 or 40 feet up front. And just one issue with Jim's report, when I was getting started on this, I called Victor Firmanek at the county and asked him about dedication of right-of-way. He indicated to me, and maybe Bill remembers, I don't know, but when Rook was in recently, for some reason the county didn't even take an easement. And they're at the same right-of-way line as we are. So I just wanted to, in case the county doesn't require anything, I just didn't want to.
It then should be taken to whatever is necessary to make it a 50 foot. 50 foot. Whatever half width is necessary.
Well, that would be. That's why I was just surprised
Well,
that.
they have a 60 foot master plan. I mean,
I know.
they just took
That's why I was afraid he'd make me go to that.
They took an easement from a client of mine in West Long Branch. They've now just taken one from Jan's Optical, but they have none here. I mean,
If the county requests it, we'll obviously grant it. We have no choice.
Right.
Okay. And if the county doesn't request it, then you're going to take
I
it.
think it needs to be offered to the county. I don't think we wait for them to request it, because the ordinance requires that if the master plan recommends 50 feet, it should be 50 feet.
Okay.
Well, then they could do
Okay.
that.
So that's not a problem, right?
That's not a problem. I just didn't want to have contradicting.
But I guess my question is, if the county doesn't want, we can request it. If they don't want it, should we grant it to the town?
No, you can't. It's
You can.
Right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I mean, if they don't
yes,
want it,
yeah.
there's nothing we can do.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll offer it for sure.
Okay.
We'll show it on the plan that we submit.
Okay.
Right, Chet? You remember?
I sure will.
Any questions for Chet? Recognizing we have a planner here to testify.
Any
as to
questions
his
from the
experience.
board for Chet? Any questions from the public for Chet? Please come up. You have to use the microphone.
Chet, you have.
Chet, why don't you have a seat? Or
Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name and address.
First name Fulvio, last name Viola, 370 West Park Avenue.
Okay, these are only questions for Chet.
Okay, my main concern is what kind of traffic problems this going to create.
Well, to be honest with you, we haven't conducted a traffic
Okay, because we have a major traffic problem because of coffee roasters. Now you're just taking it and put it on West Park Avenue.
Well, we're alleviating the serious trouble that.
You're not alleviating, because you're not alleviating Rook's problem.
Sir,
wait.
questions,
Rook-
questions only.
Let me just put something on the record. Where we are Rook will not have access.
I understand that.
So whatever problem,
You have a traffic issue because of Rook Coffee Roasters. Now you're gonna create an entrance on West Park Avenue, creating another traffic issue.
I don't think this entrance will introduce any more traffic to this spot than
If you're coming,
from this use.
if you're coming off of Monmouth Road and someone's trying to get in or out, now you're blocking Monmouth, you're blocking West Park Avenue. You're creating a traffic issue.
Excuse me, sir.
Trying to come in and out. It's
If you're on Monmouth Road, turn on to West Park, someone stopped trying to get into there, you're creating a traffic problem. If you're coming the opposite way, heading towards Monmouth Road, someone's trying to get in.
Suppose
you're
they're on
creating a
Monmouth
traffic
Road and
problem.
they just turned in the existing driveway, which is remaining.
What's that?
Suppose they're on Monmouth Road and they just turned in the existing driveway, which is remaining.
Which driveway?
Their own driveway, which is there now.
I understand that.
Well, how would that create a problem on anywhere else?
Well, you have traffic coming in and out at the same time on West Park Avenue,
Correct.
okay?
Right.
Why would you not have it going in one way, coming out the other way?
We're trying to avoid the out on Monmouth Road because what happens is you get the double queue. You've got on northbound Monmouth, you've got the through lane on the east, and then you've got the lane stacked for the light, and both of them back up. And then when cars try to make a left into this site, it's a total
You're not
disaster.
telling me anything. In the summertime, it takes me 20 minutes to get out of my driveway.
I understand.
You're just creating more of a problem.
Well, we don't see it.
I propose
Okay.
one way in, Monmouth Road out.
No. That's the last thing we want.
Nothing further to say because you guys are already.
No, we would take the one way in, which we have.
You're creating a bigger traffic problem.
We don't see it that way.
Okay, we'll see what happens.
Any other questions from the audience for Chet?
Perhaps I could just throw a little more light on that.
Yes, please.
There's essentially no traffic generator to this site between Monmouth Road and the proposed driveway on West Park Avenue. You have Gianni's, you have the commercial site across the street, whatever it's going to be. You don't have any other generator in that short stretch between Monmouth Road and the proposed driveway on West Park Avenue. So anyone coming to this site on West Park Avenue is going to be eastbound and make a right into the site. That will take them out of the signal at Monmouth, out of the traffic stream at Monmouth. Anyone on Monmouth Road is either going to make a right on West Park and a left in here, or just continue on Monmouth Road from either direction to the existing driveway and go in the site.
Right.
So there's nothing about those movements that are going, and you know, this is not an enormous traffic generator by virtue of adding a parking lot to an underparked business. Yeah, some additional clientele may come because it may make the neighborhood easier to negotiate and park when they come here. But having said that, we don't see anything about this from a traffic point of view that's going to substantially impact an existing problem. We see it benefiting the traffic stream on Monmouth Road, which is substantially worse than on West Park Avenue.
Can I ask Bill something to that?
Sure.
So, the traffic that's on Monmouth Road right now,
Correct.
because we always want to hear neighbors and citizens' concerns,
Right.
but how is it further exacerbated or impacted one way or the other if they're now coming off West Park Avenue?
Well, what I'm saying is, my personal belief is that people on Monmouth Road are going to come to this site by staying on Monmouth Road and either making a right in or a left in.
Okay, so your assumption is that traffic,
What's
but they're
gonna-
not all headed there. The traffic on Monmouth Road is not all due to this site.
No, but what I'm
so, I
saying
mean,
is
it's not.
the entrance driveway on West Park will take those clients coming east on West Park now have to go to Monmouth Road, make a right, go in that traffic stream, then make another right into the site, take them out of the equation altogether.
But well, and where I was trying to go is, I don't. And again, I know you guys you're living there commercially and residentially, and I live across town, but still know it. But I don't see that coming. West Park's not going to jam up anymore because a few right-hand turns are being made into a curb cut now.
Correct.
That's there.
Correct. And West Park does not back up. The Q West on West Park does not back up I guess not. Oh, okay. Does not back up as much as the queues east and west on Monmouth Road, north and south on Monmouth Road.
Obviously, you don't know that.
Well, I do know it. I spent a lot of time.
Wait. Sir, you have to use the microphone if you want to. If you want to say
Before they get into a back and forth, I just have a quick question.
It's not an argument.
I didn't say an argument. I just have a quick question for Bill.
Now, in the summertime, the traffic backs up as far as Larkin
Turn that
Avenue.
microphone on.
Hello?
Yeah.
The traffic backs up as far as Larkin on Monmouth Road, on West Park Avenue. Okay? You explain to me how this is going to alleviate that and not
You know
create
what,
more
though,
traffic.
I'm not talking about simply the summertime. I'm talking about all year. And any given day of the week, weekday right now. I know weekends are horrific on the summer. I mean, I live here. But having said that, weekday afternoons, the West Park signal backs up in both directions on Monmouth Road to West Lawn Branch and past Park Avenue.
Sure it does.
And what happens was, if the driveway that's there now at high maintenance, or whatever that would be, is exiting into that, they try to make their own gaps. They cut off, they nose out into Monmouth so that southbound now stops cold, and then they try to get into the queue so that people can't make the left onto it.
Yeah, I have no problem with his proposal. I have no problem with his parking lot. My main concern is the traffic.
Can I just add one thing? Just one question. We're not saying that this is going to alleviate the existing problem that you have.
No, my concern is it's going to create more.
Okay. I have two engineers that are saying no, but can I just, I think you answered my question. I was going to ask that you have to look at not just West Park and not just Monmouth. You have to look at it regionally as to what the traffic problem is, and by doing this, it's going to make it safer as it relates to the fact that we're limiting no cars out at all onto Monmouth Road.
Right, that's our position.
Okay, and also you're taking a residential house and turning it to a commercial zone now.
We're not turning it into a commercial zone. They would be, the zoning remains
It would be
the
zoned
same.
commercial.
No, it wouldn't be zoned commercial. It would still be zoned residential. It would be permitted to have a commercial parking lot on it. Let's say that parking lot got ripped up. Someone couldn't just come and do something else on it. It's still zoned residential.
They could build a house on it.
And also, just, I mean, I don't know if the lots are going to be consolidated. So this parking lot can't be sold off to somebody else.
Okay.
It's got to be there in connection with the use on the existing
I
building.
have no issue with that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fitzgerald, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be beneficial to possibly add a no left turn sign coming out of the parking lot, entering West Park Avenue? Because making a left turn there is going to create more of an issue for him. I see his point.
I'm there a lot, and I rarely have a problem making a left turn during daylight hours onto West Park Avenue. And I go to Gianni's a lot.
No, he's talking about coming out of the
Gianni's making a left.
The other issue is,
Oh,
my
okay.
experience over many, many years, no left turn signs don't work. If somebody wants to
Forces
make a
people,
left turn,
right.
they're going to make a left-hand turn.
Okay.
The problem,
Whether it's
Kevin, is
signed or
that
not.
you're now sending them to Monmouth Road, which is already a total disaster.
I understand.
And then they got to circumvent or navigate residential neighborhoods to get back to West Park, which is where they wanted to go. So I
That
think
makes
what Jim
sense.
is
I
saying is
understand.
most drivers.
I have a second question.
Everyone's forgetting is the Grand Master Plan here, and why they're asking us to grant an easement is hopefully at some point, if all of the property owners get on board and grant an easement, there will be circulation around and behind all of that, putting everyone back around and further south on Monmouth Road.
Yeah, we've accumulated 2 or 3 of these easements. This would be the 4th. We're starting to get enough that interconnections between properties are going to become feasible, and you'd have marginal access to other places without having to keep coming out onto Monmouth Road, which we think is going to make the commercial more viable and really have
It
less
will.
impact on the whole neighborhood.
I agree. With respect to the residents in the area,
Right.
what's stopping someone who tends to drive fast on Monmouth Road during the summertime from cutting through this parking lot and then exiting onto West Park? Is this
It's a bit circuitous. I mean, that's an
to
11-foot
avoid
driveway.
the light?
Okay, it's an 11-foot driveway, and I can't tell you how they're going to operate, but I understand that there's going to be a valet still providing service to clientele here.
Do you know what I'm referencing? I
understand what
I
you're
live by
saying.
the Getty gas station on Monmouth Road, and I watch them cut across the dirt lot that they have there, and it
I think
just
the
seems.
short answer is that that driveway is so close to the light, you're not saving very
Right.
much by doing it.
Practically, it probably
Meaning it's
wouldn't.
just one, you're only 2 or 3 cars ahead of you, you're already there.
Mhm.
So I don't think that it,
And it'll just,
kind of really out of the way and then to have to make that left.
you know,
Anything to
we,
save a
We're gonna
second,
end up
though,
having
with-
to make the turn into this lot and go to the back of the lot, then traverse the other parking lot. And I mean, I wouldn't do it.
Well, first of all, it's illegal. I mean, but
Yeah.
having said that, I'm not sure
No, we-
changing your concern.
What does that have
Because
to
I
do
know
with
it
it?
happens.
but you know,
I have a third question.
Yep.
When is a traffic study mandatory? When, like, would they need to get? He is a valuable question. You're saying
I mean, they're not mandatory ever.
that's on the developer if they want one. And when is the town? Like, I know the Route 35 development, they demanded a traffic
I
study.
mean, let's put it like this. It's up to the developer to come in with the information they want to provide in support of their case. Okay? If we look at something and we think it's a traffic issue,
As engineers.
we'll send them out. Now, often they'll come in with a traffic report and we'll say, well, it needs supplementation, or it seems to contradict information provided by other sources, or go validate this or go validate that. So, I mean, but typically it's not absolutely required. It's just if it's necessary. But in this particular case, I didn't raise the issue because my personal engineering or my professional opinion is this is a much better scenario than what's there now.
and
An 11-foot driveway with underparked building, and
Understood.
and can I,
we're trying to go 2 ways. It just doesn't work.
Can I follow up with you, Bill? And is so I know that everything we've done, and we appreciate the problems on West Park and Deal. I live on Deal, and I can tell you the times when you can't get up and down, especially the summer. You know, and I've talked to the mayor and other people about it, and I understand more so now that besides 36 and besides 66 in the summer, there are 2 ways really to go east and west, unless you come down 66 and cut down to Sunset. But they're West Park and Deal.
Yep.
That's it, and we're the cut through for it. So my question to you is, this site, I mean, I'm looking at everything and that's what's proposed. We have that problem. How is this site with the minimal attraction it's going to have off the roadways for those commercial establishments, adding so much more volume that we need to do a traffic study?
Well, I don't believe that it is. I believe that it's helping the situation by taking the ingress movements from this site out of the Monmouth Road stream, which, as I said, people are making their own gaps into that stream. They're making it basically.
And we need engineering studies from the county on all this, but not this application, but these
Right.
2 roadways.
Well, we have some long-term objectives that we hope to discuss with the county within the next year
Yeah,
or
I've
two.
been looking. Okay.
But you know that doesn't get typically thrown out as.
I mean, I didn't look at this, didn't smack and jump out at me. I'm not minimizing your objections at all and concerns, so I really am not. I'm just looking at each application comes to us, and the things that jump to me right now are not, this is going to exacerbate a traffic problem. And in fact, when I was looking at it, I thought, okay, it's going to alleviate some congestion on Monmouth. I didn't see it necessarily adding to problems on West Park.
And that's,
Right.
that's the test.
I don't dispute the gentleman's concerns over West Park Avenue. There, but Monmouth Road, as I see it, and I'm there a lot, is many times worse during a normal business day. The summer is a total nightmare.
I guess I was just saying I didn't see this as taking what's going on Monmouth and putting it over on West Park.
No, I don't either.
Either way.
Right, I don't either. I don't. You know, and I don't. I think the no left just makes a worse problem at the light.
I agree.
And simply put, if the board's professionals or my engineer often has an issue and there's any kind of traffic impact based on volume that it would have an impact from our application, there's nothing we can do about the existing conditions out there. But because it wasn't felt by the 2 engineers on the property that there would be any impact as a result of the traffic we were going to be putting there, that's why there was no traffic report. If a concern was raised, we would have submitted one.
Just so you know, you have 9 minutes.
Can't help it if Bill's talking about. Nothing, I'm kidding. Are there any other questions for Chet?
Any other questions from the audience for Chet? Any other questions from the board for Chet?
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Justin, our professional planner, who's going to offer his planning testimony in 5 minutes or less to give you time to.
4 minutes to spare.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and address.
Absolutely. It's Justin Osceola, Cathone Consulting Group, 125 Half Mile Road, Suite 200, Red Bank.
You're a licensed professional planner in New Jersey, and you're with Christine Cafone, who I think has testified here.
Yes.
Have you testified here before?
I think I've testified at the planning board, but I've testified at hundreds of occasions throughout New Jersey.
I'm familiar with Justin.
Okay.
He's a qualified planner.
Justin, without repeating what was already put in, let's really, the bulk was already all discussed. Let's go right to the heart of how we meet the statutory criteria to justify the commercial parking lot in a residential zone.
Sure. So absolutely, as the board knows, this is a use variance that requires proofs under Medici. There are four separate prongs here. The first is a suitability. What makes this site particularly suited for the proposed use? I think number one, on the lot, what currently exists is a older house that's in really poor shape. I think a parking lot really is a better use on this location because it is not a standalone parking lot that is sitting isolated. This parking lot is going to serve a commercial use along Monmouth Road. And also, as you heard from our professional and the board's professionals as well, this neighborhood does suffer from a lack of parking and a traffic issue on Monmouth Road. Number two, we're just not also benefiting the commercial use on the adjacent lot, but of course we are going to improve the traffic condition immensely on Monmouth Road on the traffic stream. I also think from a planning standpoint, what makes this site suited for this use is that we are going obviously to provide much more adequate parking on the site. We're going to bring it more into the conformity of the intent of the ordinance. We're also going to improve site access, on-street traffic flow, and also the aesthetics. So I think what makes this site so well suited for the use is that we are creating a better condition than what currently exists. The second prong is special reasons, and that's a showing of whether or not the application will advance one or more purposes of the MLUL, and I believe we do advance multiple purposes. I think number one, there's going to be a substantially improved circulation that benefits not just the commercial use in the adjacent lot, but also on the surrounding roadway network. You heard from your board engineer that the commercial uses along Monmouth Road generally do suffer from inadequate parking and substandard driveways. Obviously, what we're going to be doing here is going to improve that condition. So these improvements will advance purposes A and H of the MLUL. A is for the general welfare, and H is to encourage the location, design of transportation routes, which will encourage the free flow of traffic. The next prong here is that we're going.
Excuse me 1 minute. Can you tell our audience what the MLUL is?
Sure. That is the state's land use law. That is essentially the law that governs the land use in the state, in each municipality in the state as well.
Municipal land use.
Municipal land use law. I'm sorry, municipal land use law. We also advance criteria G. There is sufficient space on this property, and I think importantly as well, this is a desirable visual environment with criteria I. We're going to remove the vacant use. The next prong of the use variance is the negative criteria. It's a showing of whether the granting the variance will present a substantial detriment to the public good. I don't see any substantial detriment. Your board planner also did say that he doesn't see any significant negative impact. I think.
Justin, let me just interrupt you. All variances have a detriment. We know that. But
Right.
the test isn't whether or not there's a detriment. It has to be substantial detriment, and it has to outweigh the public good that's being promoted by virtue of this application.
Yes, absolutely, and yeah, of course, we are not rising to the level of presenting any substantial detriment. I think importantly too, as is raised in your board engineer's letter, we will be removing some trees on this property that are in danger of falling onto the adjacent property. So I think that also is a benefit as well. The next and last prong is a showing of whether or not the variance will impair the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. I don't see any impairment to the zone plan of the zoning ordinance. I think, as Mr. Higgins had raised in his letter, this is a D1 variance, but this is really, in my opinion as well, this is more so like a D2 variance. The use on Monmouth Road is essentially going to be expanding onto this property by virtue of the parking lot. So the area is already well accustomed to this type of use, And certainly this area is well accustomed to parking lots and circulation. In this instance, we're going to be making a vast improvement to that condition.
So on balance.
So on balance, yes. So on balance, the benefits of this application certainly do outweigh the detriments, which again, must be substantial. Lastly, for the Medici proofs, we must we must do a test of trying to reconcile the ordinance submission of the proposed use from the permitted use in the zone. I think in this instance, a standalone parking lot is not listed as a permitted use in your ordinance, but I think in the context of the site and the overall neighborhood context, this is a use that's appropriate not just for the location, but I think importantly does not impair this district either. And that concludes my testimony.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Thank you.
In time? Thank you.
That concludes our presentation, so I don't know if we have time to have the public offer comments.
Oh, we can extend the time.
Can we? Yeah, I think we can we wrap it
We
up.
can extend the time.
Yeah, he's extending the time.
We come up with.
Let's get rid of it. Yeah, one way or the other
Okay.
tonight. Right.
Comments from the public?
Well, let Dick in it.
Can I comment?
Absolutely.
How many chairs are on the salon? In the salon?
There's 12 stations.
Do you feel that the amount of parking spaces, is it 39? Is that totally necessary? Is it excessive? Is it?
It is because there's a couple of things. One, there's 12 chairs, but there's nails and pedicure and a waxing. And in the summer, so most of the time it's not necessary, but there are peak times in the summer when it is necessary. And cutting it back by 5 spots isn't going to make it. The impact is the use that's there. It's not going to eliminate any of the variances, and it's not going to change anything. And this gives the overflow, so there is no issue.
How many employees?
I believe there's total 15 employees, 15, 20 employees.
So
Not
that's
necessarily they're all at the same time, but 15, 20 employees.
okay. Hours of operation?
I don't, typical, I mean, this hairdresser could leave and another one could come there. It's not tied to this user, so I don't know that hours of operation.
They're generally not evenings past 7 o'clock, right?
Thursday nights till like 8:39.
So Thursday night, one night a week, just like Jan's, it's a little bit later. But there's going to be the fence along there and none of the
It's a
lighting.
7-day-a-week operation.
No.
This one's not. Could be.
But again, the
You know.
use variance is not to allow the salon to operate. The use variance is just to allow parking for it, so.
Where do they park now?
Anywhere they can.
Before the board, they have a severe parking issue, they have valet, they're squishing as many spots
So
as
it's
possible.
so it's worse now.
Oh, it's way
I
worse
mean,
now.
so the valets are going in and out.
Right.
Right.
They have to move the cars. Well,
that was
the
testimony
earlier
that the other problem is, I mean, the unheard testimony is really, think about it. If you go in there and you take a look and it's full, what do? You park in any other lot that you think you can get away with, and now walk across Monmouth Road. So I mean, it's
That's what I was asking.
Okay.
Because in the valets,
West Park.
and the valets are going in and out double time. You're coming
Right.
in, somebody's driving out, somebody's coming in. So
Can I just ask? I'm having trouble orienting myself on West Park Avenue,
Right.
between where the lot, the egress and ingress, and the corner
Right.
at West Park.
Johnny's.
What's
Gianni's.
One lot.
That's
Johnny's.
John. Okay, that's what I.
Johnny's is here and
That's what I
Wolf is
thought.
in between.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure I was orienting
Across
myself
the parking
correctly. Yeah.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Snow?
I have one question. I have a question. Will there be signs that indicate that the property is parking only for this use? Because I am a little concerned that maybe others.
The
could-
way the law reads in New Jersey, Title 39.
Okay.
If you see signs all the time that say, don't park double top. If you put on the sign specific information, which is written in the law, so I'm going to paraphrase it, but I mean, there's a paragraph right there,
Yeah.
parking for such and such, others will be towed at owner's expense, towing will be such and such of service at reachable at this phone number, whatever they require that information similar to that. As long as that's posted there, then they can tow, and the person who legitimately parked there is responsible for the
So
problem.
if the board were to
So
require it, certainly we could.
Could
put
we
that
require a sign, because I know that the Hot Bagel Bakery kind of shopping center does have a similar sign across.
Right.
So
right.
I-
So you could require that they post signs in the parking lot that are compliant with requirements for Title 39 prohibiting users of other sites from parking here.
That'd be
Certainly.
agreeable.
Good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Mr. Snow, you had another question?
More of a comment. I think that the landowner is missing an opportunity for a better development for the whole town. I understand that it's necessary to fix the traffic for the business. It's totally necessary. But it's such a large lot, and it's a residential lot currently, and I think there's an opportunity to create an easement to the back. It would require a whole new application. However, there's ample space for a development of a new residential unit and an easement to the back of that lot there. And 39 spots seems excessive, and I think it's a missed opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Warrell?
Who or how is going to determine the contribution on the loss of the trees?
Oh, the planner. The planner. We would provide the resolution that they're going to meet on site, decide which trees.
What I believe we're going to do, now that I heard, we may get a tree expert to identify the dead and dying trees, because as you know, there isn't an obligation to replace them or to make the payment, so that may lessen it significantly. So we may have someone identify the trees subject to Jim.
Right, but that
Not
could
asking
be
for a waiver, because
right.
we can't, because we don't have that number in front of you.
We can't ask for a waiver. It's going to have to be a condition which will be resolved between the applicant and our planner, and the planner will eventually set the number.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're talking about now, so how can you waive something?
Right. Other questions from the board?
Just make a quick comment.
Sure.
So the clientele that's been coming into your place has been coming in
Why
for a
don't I have
long
them
time.
why
That'd
don't
be
I
great.
have-
That would be
come on
great.
in and be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please state your name and address.
Katie Arbus. The salon is 62 Monmouth Road.
Okay.
How long you guys been there?
12 years.
So the clientele is the same clientele, plus or minus, but you have very regular clientele. So I guess from my side of the fence, because I've been there, by the way, that parking lot is a nightmare.
Yes.
You're seeing, yeah, I don't go there. But I understand it. So it's the same. So I feel for you, because I know turning out there on West Park's a nightmare. But I think you're seeing the same type of people. You're not getting, it's not a Wawa that's going in.
Right.
So I think in that respect, I understand what you're saying, because right now the situation is wild over there.
Yeah.
So I think it's got to be a better deal.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just would say, because we have objectors and neighbors who are, we want to try and always accommodate things, and I appreciate you, sir, coming in and speaking your mind, but this application, I think you're right about the problem, but I think that this tends to possibly alleviate a little bit of what's going on over there, but certainly not fix what's going on in Monmouth. I don't see it necessarily exacerbating West Park. In fact, I may be unclogging that little intersection there a bit, but certainly things we need to do to fix it all, I don't think they're happening through this application. So I just wanted to say that to you, because I'm probably going to vote for this application.
The other concern is, what about coffee roasters and then parking in their parking lot?
Well, that was, we discussed that, and we're gonna.
Signs don't work.
She may look calm. She may look calm and quiet. Don't make her angry.
31 years, signs don't work.
There's a proposed fence, sir. You'd have to walk all the way around.
Yeah, I we hear you. I just want to tell you
How
where I was
high
coming from.
is that fence? 4 feet.
Got to be pretty athletic to
Yeah,
get
you got
over
it. With a cup of coffee. With a
Yeah,
coffee.
That's all.
But there's not gonna be access from the parking lot to Rook.
Right.
It'll be blocked by a solid fence of some
That's
sort.
what Kevin
Well,
said.
there is also a fence between these two properties along the north side of the existing driveway between the Rook building, well, the building that's on that site was the commercial building, Rook's the garage in the back, and the high maintenance building, so that you can't
There's no
easily
access.
walk across the
Yeah,
site.
there won't be access.
Other comments from the board? Comments from the public.
Motion?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Mark?
Okay, the first thing you're voting for is a D1 variance is to permit this property, which is in a residential zone and will remain in a residential zone, to be joined to the C1 use in front and used as a parking lot. Not a freestanding parking lot.
Correct.
It's gonna be a parking lot connected to a permitted use in the C1. But the property itself will remain residential unless we change the zone line eventually. But at this point, that's basically the use variance to permit a parking lot on this site, which is not a permitted use.
Someone please offer.
I'll offer it.
Second.
Amy, please call the roll.
Let's go over these. Okay.
Yes.
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 Okay. Then you have your C variances. Okay. Location on an improved right of way. They're going to offer 16.
Proper dedication to the county if they don't ask for it.
To make it a 50-foot right of way.
Yeah,
According to
50
the
foot.
town's master plan, right?
So is that a variance? Where the condition is to offer it to
Only if the county doesn't accept it for any reason,
Well,
because
but it is a variance because it's not an improved right of way. So
It's still improved. It's improved, it's just a matter of getting that 25-foot halfway.
But if they're offering it to the county, do they need a variance? I guess only if the
Well,
county
only if the
rejects.
county
Only if
doesn't
the
take
county
it, but that's
rejects
not within anyone's control.
Okay.
Variance in it.
Okay. Grading more than 2 feet. We talk about that?
Correct, yes, it's
Okay.
stormwater.
Stormwater. Parking setback from street.
Which
They're not gonna do
change.
that.
We're not
They're
gonna
gonna
grant
make
that.
this parking setback work from the street.
That's that 5 feet. We're pushing further back.
Right, parking setback from side lot lines, yes,
Yeah.
they need that.
From front. Okay, so that one is eliminated because you're going to amend the plans for
Right.
that. Okay. Curb landscape islands we still need.
Yep.
Right,
Okay. Parking space size we're going to go 9 feet
Yeah.
and hairpinned.
yep.
Location of parking spaces in front yard.
Yeah,
That we still need.
that we still need, yeah.
Okay. All right. That's the ones on West Park.
Yes.
Okay, because we just done some of them. Okay, number of location of curb cuts.
Yeah.
Because we have 2 now.
Yeah.
1 and 1. We can only have 1 per site when this becomes a
Yes.
single site.
Right.
Okay. Loading area we want to waive. The 25-foot landscaping area. A 10-foot.
Yeah, and that says on the front, it should say the side and rear.
Which one?
That should say side.
Okay. Landscaping in front yard and side yard.
Yeah.
Landscaped areas. Landscaping along public street.
Yeah.
That's another one. A landscaping plan, which they're going to get a variance by using an engineer in conjunction with your approval. Prohibited
And
fences in
the
front
fence
yard.
We discussed that
We
we're not gonna
discussed-
grant that.
We're not going to grant it.
we're going to comply. We're going to
Fence is
make it
gonna
either
comply.
4-foot open or 3-foot solid.
The answer
within
is
front
you-
yard setback.
you're-
Fences comply,
Yeah,
yep.
You're going to comply. Design waivers is the tree location and preservation plan. Are they going to supply a plan?
no, but they pretty much supplied a plan. It's just
So
a
we're-
matter of
Tree expert
massaging it.
report.
Getting
Okay.
a tree expert.
Well, they have a plan.
Yeah, they have a plan.
Yeah.
They're gonna
So-
provide a tree expert report to help determination as to.
Yeah, and we're going to leave it up to Jim.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're not waiving the plan itself. We're
No,
waiving
no.
the requirement.
Right.
We're not,
Okay. We're not waiving the requirement. We're leaving the requirement to be determined.
yeah, we
Right.
determined.
Okay. And then Bill's stuff, so that takes care of Bill's stuff. You got all those? Those are the ones. The only conditions that I have that I've seen so far, tell me if, other than what you guys reports, I
What are
did.
the conditions on site plan, not the bulk? The stuff that was
That's
on the
true.
bulk.
That's on the books. You're right. So those are the
Get
bulk
that
variances
off then.
required.
You might want this transcript, he just said you're right.
Somebody want to offer this,
I
please?
will offer what Mr. Steinberg just
Said.
listed in detail.
Got you guys.
Need a second. Mr. Worrell, second. Amy, please call the roll.
Yes.
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 This concludes our meeting for
No,
tonight.
it doesn't. Want to approve the site plan?
Jesus, Mary and Joseph. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're approving the site plan subject to Bill's letter,
Yes.
I would assume, and amended plans to conform. I think the only other two things that I picked up was Monmouth County Planning Board approval,
Right, letter of no interest for or approval
Well,
for
whatever.
Posting the no parking.
and then there was the other one, it was the posting in conjunction with the requirements of Title 39. Those are the two conditions on the site plan. Obviously, there's going to be substantially amended plan, not substantially, but amended compliance so that Bill gives a clean report.
I'll offer
Subject to his
that.
report.
Second.
Who seconded it?
I did.
Amy, please call the roll.
No, Mr. Balta. Oh, God.
Yes.
I'm tired.
Yes.
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 Thank you, everybody.
This concludes our meeting for tonight. Thank you very much.
Hey, Jen, do you have anything on?